All right, guys, we got a Sunday night stream, and today we're just going to be going over basically the entirety of Ethan Klein's letter to Noah Samsen. Last week, I went over a little bit of his letter already, the parts concerning Mudahar, and I really don't think there's anything there in terms of Ethan Klein being able to sue, or in terms of Mudahar being able to claim that Noah Samsen was defaming him, because they didn't actually include any parts of Noah Samsen's video that was defamatory other than the thumbnail and the title of Noah's video. And what they did, instead of saying like, oh, Noah Samsen is defaming me, here's the specific things where he defamed me, and this is why he's wrong, they just included a bunch of half-assed comments from Mudahar where he's like, yeah, maybe Palestinians are being genocided. And then he's like, I don't think genocide's a good thing. I'm like, that's not going to be enough for them to be able to sue Noah Samsen. Because Noah Samsen has the claim that Mudahar is basically both sidesing a genocide. Hey, what's going on, everyone? I know it's a bit of a late night stream, but I just wanted to get this done before the week starts. So anyway, so we covered... This one podcast episode has taken me so long to cover, and I just want to get it done because apparently Ethan Klein had Steiny and Bradley Martin onto his podcast, and his fans were like kind of pissed off at him because he's actually starting to talk real politics, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So his fans are like, dude, you need to stop talking about tariffs. You sound like a fucking idiot. And they're like, you can't have Steiny on the show because you're just normalizing people hanging out with pedophiles and like sex criminals. So it's just so funny that when he's like having a beef with Hasan, someone he truly hates, he's not willing to have Hasan onto his show unless Hasan jumps through this arbitrary hurdle of watching Ethan Klein's content nuke about him, even though he's seen like multiple clips of it and stuff like that, and offer to watch it with Ethan Klein, which would seem to be better. But he's willing to have these like sex pests on his show and try to normalize them or reform their image or whatever the hell he's doing, and his fans hate it. So anyway, yeah, like Ethan Klein is, I don't know, he supports Kamala Harris, or he supports Dems, right? And he's not into Trump at all. But he spends all of his time attacking leftist content creators. He spends all of his time attacking pro-Palestinian content creators. And he is snuggling up to conservative content creators through like these poker tournaments and shit. And those are the people that he's allies with now because he's spending so much time attacking leftists and pro-Palestinian content creators. So he's hanging out with guys like Mudahar, Steiny, Bradley Martin, and he's claiming he's going to like hold their feet to the fire, but apparently he didn't do a good enough job because his audience was pissed off. Seems extremely weak, and it's just opinion anyway. I think he's desperate at this point because of mania. Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. So I listened to Ethan read this out once, but I just really want to like break down. Whoa, what's happening? I really want to break down the actual letter and dive into the claims and just like do a deep dive into all of this shit. I'm just gonna play this. I don't care too much about it, but he's just like reading a bad Empanada tweet or Instagram post or whatever.
Yeah.
George Janitis, the human STD, is losing his mind at this moment. He sent me an email just right now. I sent you a picture. He said, or not right now. Let's see. When did he send? He sent it at 8:50 a.m. He says, "Clean your shit. Don't eat it," which I don't know is a threat or if he's just making a
I think that's good advice.
Giardia joke.
That seems like
well, I don't need to clean my shit. I just won't eat it. I'll just flush it.
you should clean too.
Clean my shit though? It doesn't need to be cleaned. You just flush it.
I don't know how you would...
Guys, this is comedy. This is brought to you from one of the greatest comedic minds of our time. Bad Empanada said, clean my shit, don't eat it. Wow, what kind of person cleans their shit? What, you want me to polish it off, grab it out of the toilet? Wow, got him.
Clean shit.
Yeah. He's confused. So he's messaging me. He's also raving about my attorney. Oh, I don't know if it's him. I mean, well, I'll tell you the email it came from. badempanada@gmail.com. That's, yeah, a demand for retraction.
So you got an email from Bad Empanada? That's actually pretty funny. Ethan's Klein's lawyer, no, he has no case, so he sent Noah Samsen a completely powerless letter instead of actually suing, half of which is just dedicated to the lawyer asking ChatGPT to debunk two of my videos and Noah recommended. This is not a joke. Ethan paid his lawyer thousands to ask ChatGPT to write a letter refuting two of my videos rather than trying to do it himself. It extensively cites YouTube videos and Wikipedia pages. He thinks he can sue Noah Samsen for my videos. It's glorious. That is kind of true. Like, they're like, oh, you... Okay, so first of all, the letter is extremely weird. I don't know if it was necessarily written by ChatGPT, but it was written by people that it seemed unprofessional. Like, once again, they're quoting Noah Samsen they're claiming that he's like, I have special expertise on this subject, and because I use a serious tone, that's purporting myself to be an expert on it. Wow. Like, that's such a wild thing to assume, that because someone's talking about something seriously and citing their sources, they purport to be an expert on it. Extremely weird. And like, there's punctuation mistakes, different stuff like that. So once again, I don't know if it's necessarily written by AI, but it wasn't written well. And Ethan's like, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write me a cease and desist letter for Noah Samsen. And then he compares it to his letter and he's like, wow, look at this Bad Empanada. It's completely different. Which once again, is just funny to do. This is kind of a joke. No, like, guys, Ethan Klein does not want this getting taken to court because once again, if you can sue people for saying false things about you on YouTube, then Ethan Klein's getting sued about every single person that he's talked about, like, in his entire career. Just in the last week since he's been targeting Noah Samsen, he's made the claim multiple times that Noah Samsen is calling for violence against Ethan Klein. Like, you should be able... The fact that Ethan is suing Noah for saying that he supports a genocide because he is both sidesing this and he's blaming Hamas for what's happening, compared to what Ethan has done to Noah Samsen or Hasan or Bad Empanada or like anyone, any number of other people that he's been covering, like, this is not a can of worms that Ethan really wants to open up. So like, the point of this cease and desist letter is to get Noah to take down the video, obviously.
So where were we? Overall, based on the totality. Oh yeah, so it continues. We were talking about that Noah says I perpetuate the mass rape hoax by misreporting what's in the UN report. The UN report, with regards to the hostages, the mission team found clear and convincing information that some hostages taken in Gaza have been subjected to...
Okay, so guys, if you have like a PDF of this letter, I would love to find it, because I've been looking for it and I can't find it at all. I think Hasan was looking at an actual PDF of it, so I think it exists out there. But I would just like to look through it myself rather than letting Ethan talk about it. But anyway, so what is this? He has lost all of his marbles. Yeah, he's just desperate at this point. Like, he doesn't have anything else to do. Like, he has no other options. Ethan has tried winning this battle through the marketplace of ideas and engaging with people that are criticizing him on the propaganda front, and that's been like an abject failure. He made the content nuke about Hasan. He said the content nuke is like the best video he's ever made in his entire career, and Hasan's just gotten more and more popular despite the content nuke. Like, people don't really care about it. And sure, it got views, But once again, it's not actually affected anything. And so now he's going through this route, which is just another option for him to attack people that are criticizing him. Okay, so once again, I would love to be able to, it was on the Leftovers Reddit, I believe. Okay, let me take a look at that really quick. I'm just going to rewind it and have Ethan talk while I'm looking for the Reddit.
Of information gathered from multiple and independent sources at the different locations, there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations across Gaza periphery, including in forms of rape, gang rape, during the 7th of October attacks. Credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including genital mutilation, sexualized torture, or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered. This, by the way, in the reports that Noah says that nothing happened, which is a continued talking point that I see by him, Hasan, and co. being like, oh.
Okay, so we actually probably should be covering this. Yeah, I don't know. If someone in chat finds a link, go ahead and just email it to me, and I'll pull it up. It would be way better than going through this video and listening to Ethan just like rant. But anyway, so what is this? The fifth defamatory statement, i.e. the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the report from the Office of the Special Representative, blah, blah, blah. So what is this? The mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your first defamatory video, you cite paragraphs 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video at 4431. Page 7. Wait, what is this? Noah's threatening to kill him, and B is threatening him with clean your shit, don't eat it, and Hasan is threatening him because it's actually his fault. Yeah. Okay, so it makes it clear there were mass rapes on October 7th. So from the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear there were mass rapes on October 7th. Wait. What? I'm actually confused about this. The fifth defamatory statement is that the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the UN report, okay, about conflict-related sexual violence. The mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your first defamatory video, you cite paragraphs 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video at 4431. From the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. Okay, so they're saying that Noah made it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. Overall, based on the totality of information gathered from multiple independent sources at the different locations, there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations across Gaza periphery, including in the form of rape and gang rape during the 7th October 2023 attacks. Credible and circumstantial information which may be indicative of some sorts of sexual violence, including genital mutilation, sexualized torture, or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered. So this is credible and circumstantial information. Okay, let's just pull up the videos in the first defamatory video. So let's go to Noah Samsen's YouTube channel, and they said 44 minutes, 31 seconds.
Using the campaign was probably the closest she's ever been in terms of putting pressure on the platform.
We're tired of your site changing the rules.
Documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rapes allegation.
There's a UN report that concludes it happened,
which the report itself denies.
The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. Yeah, this is the thing, guys. This UN report collected circumstantial evidence, but by itself, that circumstantial evidence is not enough to conclusively say that all of these claims of like mass gang rape from Hamas soldiers happened. That's just like the facts of the matter. Even this UN report says that we need a more fully fledged investigation to establish like the actual truth of the matter. So if anyone is characterizing this UN report as conclusive proof that these mass sexual violence incidents happened, then they are mischaracterizing the report from the UN.
He spends 20 minutes in the
Okay, so
UN report that concludes it happened.
which the report itself denies. He spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of the UN.
okay, so he's saying it. Israel won't let the investigation happen. Yeah, they won't. I'm gonna have to just like rewind this a little bit more.
Full video and knowingly lied and made me like, oh, this side. When you did disclose the factual basis, you either misrepresent the facts or rely on George Angelos Janitis. His last name sounds like an STD. You've got Janitis? What a dumb. A source highly specific in terms of
Okay, so let's just like mark down these defamatory statements. So the first defamatory statement is the thumbnail and the title of the video. The YouTubers have acted genocide. Okay. In the content nuke, you can find just about every type of what we looked. And guys, the thing is, with that first defamatory statement, so I'm just gonna write a list really quick. Let's mark this down. 1. YouTubers that backed a genocide. 2. So, okay, so for the first defamatory statement, list of defamatory statements Noah made against Ethan. So for one, YouTubers that backed a genocide, so that'd be like Ethan backed a genocide essentially. Ethan backed a genocide. You can easily make this claim because Ethan has continuously like played a devil's advocate and tried to both sides this genocide, basically saying that Hamas is as much at fault, if not more, to blame compared to Israel. And the issue with that is Noah can just say, yeah, I believe that if you both sides a genocide, that is backing a genocide. The other thing is that Ethan has literally made the claim that if you are paying taxes in America, you are backing a genocide. Like he and Mudahar were joking about, oh, well, if you don't want to support genocide, then don't pay your taxes. That is literally a self-admission that he is backing a genocide. So you can also make the claim that way. So like that's an open and shut case where Noah can defend his beliefs, like his sincerely held beliefs that that's true. And Ethan himself has literally like made the claim that that's also true. So yeah, that one is like pretty open and shut, non-defamatory. Okay, so the second defamatory statement, don't dox bad Empanada even on accident. VOD will likely have to be edited because he actually don't fuck around. Dude, it's already out there. The second defamatory statement. In the content nuke, you can find just about every type of what we just looked at in terms of manufacturing consent. Ethan spreads atrocity propaganda. He shares a Hamas mass rapes hoax, the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the US government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. So I guess we can say Ethan spreads propaganda? I mean, that's literally true too. Ethan spreads Ethan literally made the claim that he wants to go to Israel to spread pro-Israel propaganda. Okay, claim number 3. Ethan spreads overt misinformation, period. Just straight up lies about Hezbollah and Ansarullah in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. Let's let Ethan
manufacturing consent. Ethan spreads atrocity propaganda. He shares the Hamas rape hoax, the same hoax that was used by Western media, the U.S. government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. This is the second statement Noah said. The third one is Ethan spreads overt misinformation. He straight up lies about Hezbollah and the Houthis in order to delegitimize their struggle against the Israeli genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about the Houthis, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery, when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. What I find so interesting about this is, like, you're really going to go on
So he says he misrepresents, or he gives misinformation about them. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar Allah, which he uses as a proof of the claim they brought back slavery, when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. So I'll just say Saudi propaganda and documentary. Okay, number 4, the fourth defamatory statement. He spreads along debunked, denialist. Okay, what is this?
record and say, like, you're going to defend the Houthis for being, like, I guess, anti-slavery? Like, the Houthis have slaves. Why are you erring on the side of the slaver? Okay, they might have slaves, but let's err on the side of the slave owners on this one. To own the libs. Ironically, they are also doing the own the libs thing. It's funny. Everybody's trying to own the libs. The fourth defamatory statement. He spreads long debunked Nakba denial talking points.
Okay, he spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points. Ethan spreads Nakba denialist talking points. Talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. First defamatory video at 44 to 49 for 422 to 4429. So let's just check that out. 4422.
Documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine.
And then I guess he just like throws up bad empanadas. Hey, Grace G, thanks for the email. I guess he just throws up bad empanadas video as evidence.
Been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own.
Okay, all right. Let's go to that letter, because this is painful looking at it through Ethan's eyes. Oh, do. So yeah, I guess they're just saying like Noah didn't really cite his sources when all he's really doing is like throwing up a bad empanada video. Okay, so let's just go through this. Defamation. Muda's video. Okay, so the fourth defamatory statement, he spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. The fifth defamatory statement, Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves Hamas mass rape allegations, which the report itself denies. The first defamatory video. So Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, and then they give an example. Okay. Ethan cites sources that contradict his points. The sixth defamatory statement, he spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of the US-backed Saudi genocide in Yemen as a terrorist with zero credible evidence. Okay, that's funny. He smears, I'll just say Ethan smears Rashid al I think his name is this. I think it's Al-Haddad. Let me look it up really quick. Rashid Al-Haddad. Yeah, okay. Got it right. Ethan's mirrors Rashid Al-Haddad. Further, it is clear you knew that Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza because you watched or claimed to watch Content Nuke. In the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. The nuke, this emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still labeled him being one. Okay, so the nuke expresses his repeated condemnation of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. So then it says, so once again, like weird grammar. Additionally, Ethan condemned the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of your first defamatory video, where you state, I think many of you can also probably help out with that. Most of you have smartphones and cameras and TikTok, so go ahead, start posting about it. Spread the work. Aside from being a morally good thing to do, it's also becoming sustainable, it's algorithmically viable. And the Ethan Klein crash out industrial complex boom. The Ethan Klein crash out industrial complex is booming. Suggest Noah set up a GoFundMe so we can all help out. Oh, it's Haddad with only one D? Okay. Thanks for the spelling. Okay. So this is I'm just gonna summarize this letter. So these are the defamatory statements, and then Noah knew Ethan didn't support genocide because Ethan said so. So this is another thing. This is another thing that's interesting. Let's just really quickly go back to Noah's video. This is the YouTubers who backed genocide, and let's just go to the transcript and just search support. So, supports terrorism and terrorist groups. That it's not supports genocide. Accusing the company of having a systemic problem of anti-Semitism. He cites the company's open support of Hasan. Okay, that's not support. Supporting America halting anti-Semites and what they really are. But we do have evidence for that Israel is protected and supported criminal gangs with ties to ISIS. So that's Israel. An aesthetic and now faces a dire situation with limited resources. I've linked your fundraiser in the description. Support if you can find the funds. The occupation forces support his campaign. Diplomatic support by whitewashing. So this is the killing machinery that has been used to slaughter Palestinians in Gaza has been provided by the United States government. They've also provided rhetorical and diplomatic support. He said, the case of Israel, the vast majority of Israeli public supports this genocide. Genociding polling shows that 95% of Jewish Israelis supported the IDF's actions. The Trump administration's plan to facilitate the ethnic cleansing of Gaza with support. Support statistic. I never supported little children dying, I want all of them to grow. Supporting Hamas. Interviews of supporting him and his right to kill and rape Palestinians. Support of Western governments. Mentions this support largely takes the form of more overt kinds like spreading misinformation and explicit Israeli state and idea of propaganda, and the other subtle yet significantly more frequent and effective is that manufacturing consent reporting of Palestinians. Okay, so listen, this is kind of interesting here.
Governments is the Western media. As previously mentioned, this support largely takes two forms. The more overt kinds, like spreading misinformation and explicit Israeli state and IDF propaganda. And the other more subtle, yet significantly more frequent and effective, is that of manufacturing consent. Reporting on Palestinians has some clear...
So Noah Samsen makes it pretty clear that if you are spreading pro-Israeli propaganda and misinformation, that is support of Israel and then a support of what they're doing. So once again, they're going to have to prove that Ethan Klein didn't spread any misinformation about Israel, which is just blatantly false. There are countless examples of him spreading misinformation about Israel. A lot of them are listed here. He misrepresents the enemies of Israel. He misrepresents the actual like basis of what Israel's doing in the region. Like one day he'll say that they still have military targets in Gaza and in the West Bank, and the next day he'll say they have no valid military targets, they're just doing a genocide. He says that there is no kind of he says that the Israeli public like doesn't support the genocide. That's a lie. He says that Israel doesn't have apartheid and it is not a segregated country, which is just completely not true. There are countless ways that he supports Israel by lying for Israel. And if Noah Samsen is fairly explicitly defining support for the genocide as lying in favor of Israel. And they're going to, I don't know what they're going to be able to do that, because that's like a pretty solid case. Lying in favor of a country is giving support to that country's actions. Like if you're really trying to make this country look good in the eyes of the people, then by making it look good, by proxy, you're going to make their actions look good. Yeah, it's such a diverse country. Okay, let's just continue this. So you state, I think, so once again, this is like an extremely weird letter to me, because additionally, they're like, your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of the first defamatory video, where you state this, saying that other people should get involved in targeting Ethan Klein doesn't automatically imply that Noah is falsely painting Ethan as supporting genocide. That doesn't imply anything where he's like, I'm lying about this and you guys could lie about it too. Okay, let's continue. So now they're going to actually like break into this. First, a defamation video at 1 hour 36 to 156. Okay, we're going to have to listen to this. 1 hour 36 to 56. Is it going to be interesting?
Is a great use of time, I think. And Bad Empanada has done a fantastic job with that. His videos have reached pretty wide audiences and exposed them to the reality and history of the genocidal Zionist project. That's a really good thing. That's a really important thing that he's doing. And I think many of you can probably also help out with that.
Oh, okay. So they're just talking about the anti-Ethan Klein industrial clips complex. This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from those defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself when your video entitled Manufacturing Consent Genocide failed to receive many views, particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video. You made a second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. Once again, this is completely ridiculous. Like, what courtroom would be like, oh yeah, he got more views when he talked about Ethan Klein, and he's like, other people can also talk about Ethan Klein? That proves that he was knowingly lying to purposely defame Ethan. I mean, is it defamatory if your statements about the person are true? So that's like completely insane. The second defamatory statement and the fifth defamatory statement. So now they're going to like break into these statements and explain why and how they're defamatory. For the second defamatory statement, and the second is that Ethan spreads pro-Israel propaganda, which is fucking hilarious. It just brings me back to when Hasan covered a clip of Ethan, and he's like, Ethan's giving pro-Israel propaganda, saying that there is no apartheid in Israel. And then Ethan sees Hasan covering him, and he's like, Hasan says, oh, what's next? Is Ethan going to say that there's a Palestinian Supreme Court justice in Israel? So then, that's another pro-Israeli talking point that I've heard a lot. And Ethan's like, why are you putting words in my mouth? I never said that, Hasan. I never said that. You're just trying to paint me like this some kind of like crazy pro-Israeli propagandist. And then 6 months later, he does that exact same thing. He's like, there's no apartheid in Israel. There's actually like a Supreme Court justice that's Palestinian. Okay, so that's funny. Like, he's literally spreading pro-Israeli propaganda that he himself acknowledged was a pro-Israeli propaganda talking point. the second defamatory statement and the fifth defamatory statement. So you did not disclose the factual basis for how Ethan engaged in every type of manufactured consent with one exception, your false assertion that Ethan spread the Hamas mass rapes hoax, which you expanded upon with the fifth defamatory statement, the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the United Nations report from the Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Sexual Violence in the conflict. So then they say the mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your first defamatory video, you cite paragraphs 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video at 44:31. From the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. So I guess they're saying from the language you displayed in the first defamatory video is the paragraph of the report that Noah threw up there. You guys, Noah never actually said this. He just like wrote it down. Overall, based on the totality of information gathered, we already read this, credible circumstantial evidence which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including blah, 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 was also gathered. So they're including the forms of sexual violence, They're including the forms of sexual violence that the circumstantial evidence they saw could include. UN report emphasis added also, see also ID, with regards to the hostages, the mission team found clear and convincing information that some hostages taken to Gaza have been subjected to various forms of conflict-related violence and has reasonable grounds to believe that such violence is ongoing. Emphasis added. Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion that Hamas did not engage in mass rapes on October 7th. Okay. As the plain language of paragraph 86 states, the investigators could not determine the exact scope of the sexual violence because it would require a separate, more comprehensive investigation, not because there was no evidence. Once again, this is really weird to me. So the fifth defamatory statement is that Ethan misrepresented what the UN report said, specifically in the context of mass rapes happening on October 7th. And they're trying to say, oh, well, there is clear and convincing information that some hostages experienced sexual violence in Gaza, like underneath Hamas's control. It's like, okay, that literally has nothing to do with the claim that Ethan is misrepresenting mass rapes on October 7th. At the end of the day, this UN report literally just says that circumstantial information could be indicative of sexual violence. That's all they're saying. And so if you're making the claim that the UN report is making it abundantly clear that mass rape happened, you are lying. Like, you're misrepresenting this study. And so what do? They're like, okay, well, this paragraph says that circumstantial evidence was found which could be indicative of some forms of sexual violence. Then they cite a paragraph that says hostages experienced sexual violence, okay? Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion, and then they say that the assertion, then they're like, okay, well, I know you said that our client misrepresented this study by saying it proved mass rapes happened, but it actually didn't prove that mass rapes didn't happen, so checkmate, Noah Samsen. This is like when you have an atheist arguing with a religious person, and the atheist is like, okay, well, can you prove to me that God exists? And the religious person is like, well, I can't, but you can't prove to me that God doesn't exist, so checkmate, we're at an impasse. So what are you saying? They're like, yeah, I know Ethan is making the assertion that this study like definitively says that mass rapes happened, but it never said that no mass rapes happened. Okay, so yeah, okay, so what's your point? So far, like, you're not disproving Noah at all. Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory statement, which was Ethan spreads pro-Israeli propaganda, you cite materials that you claim support your assertion that the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the US government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. The materials you cited, however, only discuss conflict-related sexual violence in general, and not just October 7th, and did not discuss Israel's actions in Gaza whatsoever. Wait, I'm actually like kind of confused by this. Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory statement, you cite materials that you claim. All right, we're gonna have to like listen to Noah Samsen. So what timestamp was the second defamatory statement at? 43:15. Let's just check it out. We're just gonna have to like play this.
These lies in front of Congress. He received a standing ovation. 3 weeks later, the White House approved a $20 billion military aid package to Israel. They explicitly cited Netanyahu's visit as one of their motivations for doing so. Atrocity propaganda has consequences. So with that context out of the way about the Gaza genocide and its support from the West and within Israel, the broader media system that allowed it to happen, let's now return to Ethan's video. In the content nuke, you can find just about every type of what we just looked at in terms of manufacturing consent. Ethan spreads atrocity propaganda. He shares the Hamas mass rape hoax, the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the US government, and the Israeli government to justify a genocide. He cites the same sources that these...
Okay, so he cites the same sources. The vice president hosted an event at the White House which included a panel discussion and remarks by advocates and survivors of CRSV from around the world, and a partial screening of Sheryl Sandberg's documentary Screams Before Silence on Hamas's sexual violence on October 7th. Okay, so this Screams Before Silence, that's a documentary about October 7th, right? So wouldn't that disprove the idea? Screams Before Silence is a film led by American businesswoman Sheryl Sandberg that explores the sexual violence by Hamas during the Hamas-led attack on Israel on October 7th. So this is quite literally about the sexual violence on October 7th, okay? And they're saying that he didn't include anything about October 7th? You cite materials that you claim support your assertion that the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the US government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. The materials you cited, however, only discuss conflict-related sexual violence in general, and not just October 7th, and did not discuss Israel's actions in Gaza whatsoever. So they're saying that Noah Samsen is claiming that Israel is using sexual violence, like the mass rapes hoax, to justify their genocide. But because even though Noah is citing like the White House talking about the mass rapes hoax, he's not directly relating it to the genocide, and thus it's defamatory. Which is, I would say that's a reach. Like if you're saying that the White House is hosting an event literally discussing the mass rapes on October 7th, that is evidence that they're manufacturing consent for this genocide. Which, like, Noah very clearly lays out his definition for manufacturing consent, and then he goes on to describe how Ethan Klein and the United States government and Israel manufacture consent, and that seems to be like a pretty like watertight use of this video. Like he's defining how people support a genocide, he's defining the ways in which genocide is supported, and then he's going on to list examples of how Ethan Klein and other like propagandist parties are fitting into that definition of supporting the genocide that he laid out there. So they're going to have to prove that that definition that Noah used, Noah Samsen doesn't believe in it. They're not going to have to prove that that definition is incorrect, because Noah Samsen can just say, I genuinely believe that that definition is backing a genocide. Therefore, I'm not like knowingly defaming you, because in my definition of manufacturing consent, you fit into that definition. But like this letter is very strange. So they're saying that since he didn't directly relate the fact that the White House is repeating this mass rape hoax to genociding people in Gaza, then it's defamatory. Did I get that right? Without presenting any evidences. By misrepresenting the factual basis of the second defamatory statement, particularly after reviewing the UN report yourself, you knew the second defamatory statement was false. That's just not true whatsoever. Like, this is completely insane. So the second defamatory statement, I'm just gonna like cross through, because we read this and yeah, they really have How do I strike through something on Google Docs? They really have like no standing whatsoever. Like Control S. All right, I gotta look this up. Strike through on Google Docs. Alt Shift 5. Okay, let's try it. Alt Shift 5. Ah, beautiful. Ethan spreads pro-Israel propaganda. Proven correct, or at least not disproven. Third defamatory statement. Despite which is Ethan spreads misinformation about Houthis and Hezbollah through repeating Saudi propaganda and citing a documentary that was not about the Houthis at all. Despite making the factual assertion that Ethan spread overt misinformation and straight up lies about Hezbollah, you do not identify a single piece of misinformation or falsehood Ethan made about the organization. Indeed, you do not address, let alone refute, the assertions made in the nuke that 1. Hezbollah engaged in terrorism resulting in the deaths of thousands of civilians. 2. Hezbollah orchestrated the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. 3. Hezbollah hijacked airplanes. 4. Hezbollah fired 15,000 rockets in civilian areas. 5. Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad in Nasrallah, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. 6. Hezbollah's leader Hasan Nasrallah made numerous anti-Semitic and genocidal statements against Jews. 7. Hezbollah initiated the most recent round of fighting on October 8th, not Israel. Oh my God. Which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced. The nuke at 55:44. All right. I mean, if I were in Noah, I would have to go after Ethan for the no rubbers with X thing. He was asking very leading questions. I mean, he literally, Ethan literally implied that Noah Samsen was a rapist. Or, maybe Dan implied it. All right, let's just watch this. Content nuke Hasan Piker. Content nuke Hasan Piker. What timestamp was this? They said
completely flat.
They said it was 55:44 to 101. So anyway, Noah cites, what does he cite? He cites a video by Bad Empanada, I think. So we're on the third defamatory statement, 43:56. Let's just jump there.
Information, just straight up lies about Hezbollah and Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar Allah, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery, when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points.
Okay, so he includes two things. Was this from the content nuke? So there's a slavery in Yemen documentary. Slavery in Yemen doc. And it was this other article.
Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. He cites baseless claims.
Exclusive: Houthis restore slavery in Yemen by Ashar al-Aswad. Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Okay, so is he saying he did this during the content nuke? And the content nuke portion that they're clipping was in 55:44?
More and more people in a way more consumable form. This is extremely fucked up. But why should he care? Their flag doesn't say death to fucking Turks. It says curse upon the Jews. Hasan likes to obfuscate on this and says, nobody cares when Sean Penn interviewed El Chapo.
Sean Penn literally interviewed El Chapo. Exactly, dude.
Nobody is saying you can't have difficult conversations with controversial people. You just have to ask them hard questions, guys. We know this. Now let's move on to everybody's favorite terrorist organization, our friends in the north. It's Hezbollah. Where do I even begin? Thousands of civilians have been killed globally from their terrorist acts, car bombs, and suicide attacks. They even assassinated the Lebanese prime minister. They've hijacked civilian airplanes. They've shot 15,000 rockets into civilian centers. And if you can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians.
So yeah, he's saying they participated in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians. I guess that's different from like saying they killed all of them. But yeah, they fought in the civil war. I mean, if we're going to talk about people participating in the slaughter, you can also say that Israel has participated in the slaughter of Syrian civilians since they've been bombing Syria.
To help a dictator, Bashar Assad, stay in power. They indiscriminately bombed over civilian centers, and they killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in what can only be described as a genocide. They are.
Yeah, that's like not true. So we can take a look at, no, it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah, Syrian war. Hezbollah involvement in the Syrian civil war. Because I think it was like about 500,000 Syrians died in total during the Syrian civil war. And obviously like Hezbollah has been a part of that, but like you can't say that they've killed hundreds of thousands themselves. Timeline of Hezbollah's deployment analysis. All right, let's see what the analysis is. National interest and other Western analysis noted the role of Hezbollah in turning the tides of the Syrian civil war in favor of the government. After the organization's role in Qusayr, Homs, and Aleppo, the armed wing of the Lebanese party gained political and military experience fighting in urban environments and enlarged its alliance with Syria and Iran. Hezbollah's role has been critical in defeating Syrian rebels on behalf of the Syrian government and has grown stronger in the region. Hezbollah fatalities. Criticism. Support in Lebanon has suffered a drastic dent, and opposition has also emerged from its Shia base in Lebanon and beyond. How many people did they kill? Like, all right, let's just look this up. How many people did Hezbollah kill in Syria? Casualties of the Syrian war. Estimates of the total number of deaths in the Syrian civil war by various war monitors range between 580,000 as of May 2021 and approximately 656,493 as of March 2025. In late September 2021, the UN stated it had documented deaths of at least 350,209 identified individuals, but cautioned the figure was certainly an undercount that specified only a minimum verifiable number. The most violent year of the conflict was 2014, when around 110,000 people were killed. UN envoy to Syria, Staffan de Mistura, stated that more than 400,000 people were killed in the Syrian civil war. By mid-March 2025, opposition activist group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, reported the number of children killed in conflict had risen to 26,000 and that 16,181 women had also been killed. On June 28, 2022, the UN Human Rights Office stated that at least 306,000 Syrian civilians had been killed. Overall deaths, death tolls by time periods. And when did Hezbollah get involved in the civil war? It has been substantial since the beginning of armed insurgency phase and evolved, so 2011, I guess, which is when it started. The following breakdowns of combatant fatalities does not include 36,000 pro-government and 25,955 anti-government fighters. Death tolls by provinces. Homs. They said that Hezbollah really started fighting in Homs, Aleppo, and what was the other city that they said they fought in? Qusayr, Homs, and Aleppo. After the organization's role in Qusayr, Homs, and Aleppo, the armed wing, they gained political and military experience. It's an opinion protecting the First Amendment always. So, like, yeah, there's not really any claims that there's not really any evidence that Hezbollah has personally killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. Okay, so this is the causes. Syrian government forces and allied militias, 157,000 explosions, Islamic State, unknown circumstances, international coalition forces, opposition factions, Turkish forces, prohibited weapons, jihadists, perpetrator. Okay, so I guess would they be under? It must be the allied militias. So the Syrian government and its allied militias killed 157,000. Which once again is not the same thing as saying that Hezbollah killed hundreds of thousands of people and did a genocide in Syria. Okay, so let's just take a look at the government forces. Syrian, Lebanese, Hezbollah, fatality. Wait, this is the, combatant deaths, civilian deaths. Syrian government forces, number of civilians killed 200,000. Syrian Network for Human Rights has stated it had documented 231,108 civilian deaths and 14 million displaced between March 2011 and August 2025. So this is the Syrian Network for Human Rights, 200,000 by the Syrian government forces, which, yeah, that's fucking horrible. But once again, like, we're splitting hairs here, and you can definitely say that Hezbollah did a fucking atrocious part in the Syrian civil war. Like, it did some horrible acts in the Syrian civil war, and it lost a lot of support in Lebanon as a result. But what you can't say conclusively is that they killed hundreds of thousands of people in Syria and did a genocide. Like, and if you criticize Ethan for saying that, that's a valid criticism. Like, that's just straight up misinformation. Okay, so anyway, he says that, so Noah Samsen, like, once again, this is going to be a long shit. It's going to be a long video talking about this. Ethan spreads overt misinformation, just straight up lies about Hezbollah and Ansar Allah in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary from Ansar Allah, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. Okay, so so we found an example of Ethan Klein lying about Hezbollah, and now Noah Samsen also gave an example of how he lied about the Houthis. So how is this defamatory? Like, once again, I go back to, you need to lie about someone for it to be defamatory, right? Okay, let's continue. So you never addressed, let alone refuted, the assertions made in the nuke that Hezbollah engaged in terrorism, resulting in the deaths of thousands of civilians. Hezbollah orchestrated the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik el-Hariri. Hezbollah hijacked airplanes. Hezbollah fired 15,000 rockets in civilian areas. Hezbollah intervened in the civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. Hezbollah's leader, I mean, come on, you're being a little generous in you clipping the bad stuff out of this, right? Like, Ethan Klein didn't stop there. He said that they personally killed hundreds of thousands, which was a genocide in Syria. Like, he said that Hezbollah genocided the Syrian population.
You can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of over 500,000.
Like, once again, all of the escalating conflict with Hezbollah in Syria. He includes an article headline, I think Wikipedia, I guess. All of the following deaths, overall deaths, all of the following totals include civilians, rebels, and government forces. So, once again, this is civilians and then combatants on both sides. And Ethan Klein throws that up there, and he says that Hezbollah personally killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Syrian civilians to help a dictator in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians.
What is this GCR2P? GCR2P. Okay. The responsibility to protect is a global political commitment. So these are the civilians? What is GCR2P? All right, let's just look up this article that Ethan was using. The escalating conflict with Hezbollah in Syria. the escalating conflict with Hezbollah in Syria. This is it. Is there that GCRK? Does that article not exist? The escalating conflict with Hezbollah in Syria. Is it in the Hezbollah's participation in Syria? Let's just look this up. GCR2. I can't find it. The complete opposite. It's the type of stuff you use to make fun of. Yeah, I don't know what this is, what this video is talking about. Overall deaths. All of the following totals include civilians, rebels, and government forces. Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. So these are the totals, and these are the sources. GCR2P source. GCR2P. Global Center for the Responsibility to Protect. So this is the source that counted it up. So Ethan Klein is saying that over 500,000 civilians were killed, when literally the article he's citing is saying that that the totals include civilians and combatants on both sides. So like this is it's like a pretty open and shut example of Ethan lying.
Assassinated the Lebanese prime minister. They've hijacked civilian airplanes. They've shot 15,000 rockets into civilian centers. And if you can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians.
What were the casualties of the Syrian war again? Civilian deaths. 231,000. Okay, so the Syrian Network for Human Rights says that 231,000 total civilians were killed. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says that 199,000 civilians were killed. The Violations Documentation Center in Syria said 131,000 were killed. So all of these are saying that like at most 231,000 civilians were killed, which is freaking horrible. But once again, a big portion of this is combatants too. Like you can see right here, the total amount of people killed, at least in SOHR. Okay, so this is it right here. This is including the civilians, rebels, and government forces. Like, he included this screenshot, and he's like deleting 3 or 4 words from it. It's the totals, civilians, and combatants. Like, this is pretty open and shut. He's lying about Hezbollah to overinflate the numbers of people that they've killed. Yeah, it's really weird. And even so, we need to go through this once again because it's just strange. Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad. Okay, that's true, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. That's true. All of that is true. However, what they're not saying is that they're completely skipping out on the other things that Ethan have said. Like, I think they're misquoting Ethan in this content nuke. Let's just listen to it real quick.
1,000 rockets into civilian centers. And if you can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians to help a dictator.
They're literally not even quoting. Like, why would they rewrite what Ethan says in this to make it seem more believable? Like, this is a statement that is technically true. Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war. That's the weird wording, but I'll let it slide. Like, I'd say they participated in it. But whatever. Like, saying intervened makes it seem like they were more instrumental to the success of the Syrian civil war. To aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. That is a defendable statement. What isn't is what Ethan actually says.
Centers. And if you can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of over 500,000 Syrian civilians.
It's just so funny because that's literally not true. Every single organization counts like around 200,000 civilians being killed. 231,000, 199,000, 131,000. All of these are the civilians being killed. This is the total number of people dying.
To help a dictator, Bashar Assad, stay in power, they indiscriminately bombed over civilian centers, and they killed hundreds of thousands of civilians.
And then Ethan goes on to make the claim that Hezbollah by itself has killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, when the total amount of civilians killed in the entire war over like the 15-year period or like the 14-year period it's gone on is around 200,000. But Hezbollah alone has killed hundreds of thousands of civilians.
What can only be described as a genocide. They are a designated terrorist group by the U.S., by the EU.
Yeah, okay. So like quite obviously a lie there, and the lawyer misquotes Ethan to make it seem like it's not a lie, which is extremely weird. Like Ethan should sue this lawyer for defaming him because they knowingly misrepresented what Ethan said. Hezbollah does not have airplanes. What you don't understand is they hijacked civilian airplanes, and they probably put a lot of bombs on those civilian airplanes too. So that might be what Ethan's referring to. See them hijacking an airplane. Okay, anyway, this is so stupid. Like literally, how can we trust this letter? Whoever wrote this letter just lies at every opportunity they have. What else was I gonna look up? So yeah, Ethan just lies about that. Okay, let's just continue this. Okay, so obviously, like, Ethan lies a lot about Hezbollah. Surprising. As to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. One, recruiting child soldiers. Oh yeah, I wanted to see what he had to say about the Houthis.
Civilian airplanes. They've shot 15,000 rockets into civilian centers. And if you can imagine, that's not even the worst things they've done. They participated in the slaughter of...
Let's just go here. So 30-40 to 55-30? What the fuck? 30-40? 30 minutes?
Looks like they are hiling Hitler. The Houthis are an Islamic military group. They're known for their cruel measures, forcibly recruiting child soldiers, shelling civilian areas, and blocking food from entering already famine-ruined parts of Yemen. They've also set up landmines in agricultural spots, making the fields virtually worthless. Women have virtually no rights, and homosexuality, of course, is punishable by death. That lines up with leftist values. Now, just how little rights do women in the Houthis' Yemen have? Well, according to this, there's been 1,181 violations committed by Houthi rebels against women, including torture, rape, and murder. So, not great. The Houthis have a very wholesome flag, as you can see here. It says, translated, Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel, and a curse upon the Jews. And that's all of them, not just the ones in Israel. And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews. We want to kill Jews. And then people like Hasan are like, you're fucking racist for saying that they just want to kill Jews and that they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not thinking deep enough about this topic.
My criticisms of the Houthis' slogan do not factor in to what they are doing. Of course, it is anti-Semitic, but contextualizing it matters. Yeah, it's really interesting because, like, that is such Western-focused propaganda. Like, for a Palestinian to arrive at
religion and
the part
identity.
The part of feudal warlords and slavery, abolishing that, yes, I do think that is good.
No, China did them a favor.
This is a good way to describe Taiwan as well. The American federal government going into the fucking South and killing, unfortunately not all of them, but a decent amount of slavers and defenders of slavery. This is violent retribution from a
They brought back slavery.
Do you think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do?
That line's
Okay, so Ethan literally says they brought back slavery, and I guess he cites this slavery in Yemen, Al Jazeera World. So let's just like really quickly look that up. Slavery in Yemen, Al Jazeera. Love translated proceeds to not translate. God is great. Slavery is illegal throughout the world, banned by international convention and treaty, but there is at least one country where it is alleged still to exist, Yemen. In June 2010, a local Yemeni newspaper, Al Masdar, reported that slavery not only existed but was growing in Yemen. It published the story of 500 alleged slaves in the country. The government dismissed the Al Masdar reports and insisted they were entirely unfounded. But when a Yemeni judge approved the transfer of a slave from one owner to another, it triggered a campaign by a local journalist, human rights activist, and the wider press. Bro, how blatant do you have to be? They're like, nah, slaves don't exist. And then the judge is like, all right, yeah, you're allowed to transfer your slave to another person. What the fuck? That's insane. With the help of these campaigners and using hidden cameras, the makers of this Al Jazeera film investigate political figures allegedly involved in modern slavery. Okay, so this is in June 2010, a local Yemeni newspaper reported that slavery not only existed but was growing in Yemen. Okay, and when did Houthis gain power? Houthis. They are a Shia Islamist political and military organization that emerged from Yemen in the 1990s. It is predominantly made up of Zaidi Shias, and their namesake leadership being drawn largely from the Houthi tribe. This group has been a central player. So when did they actually gain power in political power? The Houthis emerged as an opposition movement to Yemen President Ali Abdullah Saleh, whom they accuse of corruption and being backed by Saudi Arabia and the United States. In 2003, influenced by the Lebanese Shia political and military organization Hezbollah, the Houthis adopted their official slogan against the United States, Israel, and Jews. Al-Houthi resisted Saleh's order for his arrest and was afterwards killed by the Yemeni military in Sana'a in 2004. In 2004, sparking the Houthi insurgency. Since then, the movement has been mostly led by his brother Abdul Malik al-Houthi. The organization took part in the Yemeni Revolution of 2011 by participating in street protests and coordinating with other Yemeni opposition groups. They joined Yemen's National Dialogue Conference but later rejected the 2011 reconciliation deal. In late 2014, the Houthis repaired their relationship with Saleh, and with his help, they took control of the capital city. The takeover prompted a Saudi-led military intervention, so they took control in 2014. To restore the internationally recognized government, leading to an ongoing civil war, which included missile and drone attacks against Saudi Arabia and its ally UAE. Following the outbreak of the Gaza war, the Houthis began to fire missiles at Israel and to attack ships off Yemen's coast in the Red Sea, which they say is in solidarity with the Palestinians aiming to facilitate entry of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. So yeah, objectively, this took place before the Houthis had power. Yes, that's before the Houthis were in power. They took over in 2014. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can do more research into this, and I don't think the Houthis are really going to buck convention like this, but it is funny that Ethan Klein includes a documentary that is pretty explicitly about the enemies of the Houthis, like the government they rebelled against and Saudi Arabia, saying that the Houthis brought back slavery in Yemen. So once again, this is a pretty overt lie that Ethan Klein used. Houthis, okay, and then what's this article? Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Let's just look that up. Exclusive. Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Sharq al-Assad. This is the other source Ethan used. Modern slavery is prevalent in Yemeni regions under the control of the Iran-backed Houthi militias, including the capital Sana'a. Sources close to the group, the several civilians have been forced into slavery by prominent Houthi leaders. More than 1,800 Yemenis work as servants and slaves at the residences and workplaces of high-ranking Houthi officials. These including militia's leader Abdul Malak al-Houthi, his brother Abdul Khalik, and the relatives Muhammad Ali al-Houthi. Okay, so a lot of people. The Houthis are working tirelessly to restore slavery in Yemen, nearly 70 years after the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, several local reports have confirmed that slavery witnessed a rise in Yemen during the past 4 years when the Houthis staged their coup against the legitimate government. So it was in rise while the legitimate government was still in place. Crimes linked to modern slavery vary from actual slavery. Yemeni activists revealed that since the coup, the Houthis sought to segregate Yemeni society into rulers and subjects and masters and slaves. They told Bashar al-Assad that the Houthis are attempting to cement these ideas in society by having the Houthi family seize all aspects of the state and its institutions. We do not doubt the segregation because it is the literal implementation of racist ideology that is based on modern slavery and the divine right to control, rule, money and the affairs of the people, they said. A member of the lawyers syndicate in Yemen told Bashar al-Assad that some Houthi elders and social figures still enslave the poor, bind their freedoms, and force them to work without pay. They are also forced to the battlefield to fight for the Houthis. The Houthi discrimination against the people is based on color, race, and ancestry, he said, on condition of anonymity. Masters, who call themselves Hashemites, are now at the top of Yemen's social class. They believe themselves to be of the purest ancestry and have given themselves the privilege of ruling the country and accumulating wealth. They are followed by tribes, workers, and farmers. This class is often looked down upon and discriminated against by the Houthis. Slavery is outlawed by Yemeni law, said the lawyer. Perpetrators can face no less than 10 years for buying, selling, or depriving a human of his free will. Since their coup, Houthis have sought to turn back the hands of time and take back Yemen to the era of the oppressive imamate and all forms of slavery. What is this? The world ignores slavery in Yemen. Hoplite group Houthis have revived slavery in Yemen. Slavery in Yemen. Let's just read the Wikipedia article on this. It was formally abolished in the 1960s. However, it has been reported that enslavement still occurred in the 21st century. Chattel slavery in Yemen was abolished in two stages in 1962 and 67. Yemen is in Arabia. History of slavery, slave trade to Yemen, function and conditions of slavery, female slaves, activism against slavery. Part of Yemen was controlled by the British Empire when the League of Nations were founded. All right, let's just go to modern day slavery. For someone to be considered a slave, they must fit into the following four categories: be threatened either physically or mentally to work, controlled or owned by another person either through threats or abuse that is physical or mental, treated as a chattel, bought or sold as property, dehumanized, restrained physically, or as limitations on freedom of movement. It has been reported that two main types of slavery currently exist in Yemen. The first is general human trafficking. The second is those who are not subject to trafficking, but instead still endure slavery and abuse. Such abuse has been reported to be depriving slaves a basic right of access to water unless their owner permits it. Children are extremely vulnerable to slavery in Yemen. Causes of modern-day slavery. A likely cause of the existing slavery in Yemen with regards to the illegality of it is the extent of the poverty within certain communities. Abdul Hadi al-Azazi, a member of the team investigating slavery in Yemen, suggested that because of the levels of poverty, affected people may enable themselves to be controlled by wealthy people in order to have a better quality of life than what they can provide for themselves. Another possible factor in the existence of slavery in Yemen is government corruption. The slavery is easy to get away with and no steps are taken to put an end to it. Besides this, the slavery cycle is difficult to get out of when there is no government intervention or real awareness by the public in other countries as to what's going on, which is part of the cause of slavery in Yemen. If people are not aware of what is happening, they cannot do anything about it. Slaves are inherited through their owners. For anyone that doesn't know, by the way, Islam is 100% against slavery. This has nothing to do with the religion. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get back to like the actual focus of this stream, but obviously slavery is bad, and it looks like Yemen got really fucked over through colonization and the slave trade. In the Middle Ages, the majority of slaves had appeared to have been of African origin, but there were also enslaved people of other origins, such as Indians, Europeans, and Turkish people, as well as an illegal enslavement of Muslim Arabs, despite the fact that Islamic rules ban the enslavement of other Muslims. Yeah, as you say, Islamic rules ban slaves. Funnily enough, like the Bible condones slavery. A tribute of 1,000 slaves were annually sent to Dalek Archipelago to Yemen. Okay, anyway, guys, so yeah, it doesn't look like the Houthis brought back slavery in any way, at least. I don't know. It's difficult to find like an article in this that actually has that actually is doing good journalism. Let's just take a look at this Al Jazeera article, which was written in 2014. Oh, this is the same video. Despite government denials, this investigation uncovered evidence of slave labor in Yemen. June 2010, a local Yemeni newspaper, so we read this. So anyway, guys, like Yemen has a history of slavery, and it still seems to be endemic into their country. Obviously, the Houthis haven't, well, it's kind of difficult to find out, but it doesn't seem like the Houthis have done a lot to push against this slavery, but saying that they brought slavery to Yemen is misinformation.
Mein Kampf.
Oh, I almost forgot the most fun one. They brought back slavery.
Literally alive. Like, it's so funny. The fucking article that he cites from Al Jazeera saying the Houthis brought back slavery is saying it existed before the Houthis took power, which is really funny. So, like, yeah, he's lying there. He's blatantly lying about the Houthis bringing back slavery. He's blatantly lying about Hezbollah killing over, like, killing hundreds of thousands of civilians. Like, he's literally misquoting the fucking article that he threw up there, saying that Hezbollah and the Syrian government killed over 500,000 civilians, when it's like, no, it's including the combatants as well. So yeah, like multiple ways that Ethan's lying. Whether the evidence is we have slaves in the U.S. forced to work for free called prisoners. Also, we're shipping migrants to, well, that's the other thing. I mean, Ethan is on his high horse saying that people are enslaved in Yemen when we literally have unpaid laborers in America. And it seems like every 2 years, there's like a literal slave labor camp that gets discovered where they have undocumented people working and living on the farm, and they're not allowed to go out and see other, like, go out to the outside. We have like seasonal workers where we have workers visas where basically you're forced to work only for your employer, seasonal workers where you're forced to work only for your employer, prisoners that have unpaid labor that they do. Yeah, it's not a great world we live in. Okay, so as to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread a misinformation about the Houthis. And then they, like, it's kind of funny to me that they're listing the claims Ethan has made about the Houthis when he's been ranting about them for like 7 months at this point. He didn't just make 9 claims that you can neatly throw into a paragraph and say, none of these are misinformation. Well, you can, like, no one ever said, in the content nuke, Ethan lied about the Houthis. He's addressing his entire like body of work that he's been putting on the internet for the last 7 months. And yeah, are you saying that we can't find a single lie that Ethan's made about the Houthis? Because we literally just found one. That Ethan said they brought back slavery, which they did not do. Let's just see if they did that. As to the Houthis, who do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. 1. Recruiting child soldiers. 2. Shelling civilians. 3. Blocking aid to civilians. 4. Ruining agricultural land with mines. 5. Oppressing women and members of the LGBTQ community. That's funny. 6. Torturing and killing women. 7. Performing Nazi salutes. 8. Flag states death to Israel and curse upon Jews. 9. Captured the Galaxy leader in international waters, not Yemeni waters, and the ship was not destined to or traveling from Israel. And 10. Took the crew of the Galaxy leader who were not Israeli hostage. Okay? Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. That's holy shit, dude. Whoever wrote this is fucking maliciously lying. He did not say the Houthis, like Noah Samsen did not say Ethan falsely asserted that the Houthis engage in slavery. Ethan very specifically made the assertion that Houthis brought slavery back to Yemen. And now the lawyer is saying he never said that. He just said that Houthis engage in slavery. Insane shit. Like, so the way I understand it, Ethan's repeating propaganda pro-genocide of Yemeni people. Add that to his list. Imagine supporting 2 genocides. Yeah, basically. I mean, of course you would support the United States and Saudi Arabia going after this. So Houthis restored slavery to Yemen. Ethan makes the claim that Houthis brought back slavery. Brought back slavery in Yemen. Ethan makes the claim that Houthis brought back slavery in Yemen. That's a content nuke at... Well, I guess I'll just write this down before I lose this timestamp. Ethan makes the claim as Hezbollah and Assad killed 500,000 civilians. And Hezbollah killed hundreds of thousands of civilians and carried out a genocide in Syria. And that is at 5609. 5609. Okay, and then for the Houthi thing, they brought back slavery. Where was this again? We're talking about Rashid al-Haddad. Oh, you said genocide? Did I misspell something? Imagine supporting 2 genocides. Back at the legal hallucination.
Doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization.
Do we like them or no?
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say. But they are a terrorist organization. Like they're designated. They are designated by the American state as a terrorist organization.
I do not like them then.
Well,
he is regarded as a pretty brilliant.
They brought back slavery.
It's so funny. Like, literally, I mean, dude, how can you how can these lawyers feel like they did their jobs well when they're literally misquoting what Ethan is saying in the videos to try to make it seem like he didn't say the things that he said? And then they're like, oh, well, you said that. Ethan says that the Houthis brought back slavery, but in reality, he just said that they engage in slavery. So you're wrong. It's like, bro, you're literally just rewriting reality in front of our faces. The groups are in response to, though. These groups are in response to. Well, yeah, I mean, they were resisting the government. They didn't really abolish the practice of slavery, at least according to what we were reading. Doesn't seem like they've been making leaps and bounds with civil rights, but simply saying that they brought back slavery is a lie. Okay. Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Literally, Ethan said they brought back slavery, and Noah Samsen did offer a fact that refuted the assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the sources relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article entitled "Exclusive Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen" from Ashaq al-Aswad English version. The article itself refers to receiving information from one. Okay, so like literally we don't even have to read this. You cite no evidence refuting the substance of the article or the sources it relied upon. Are they going to talk about the Al Jazeera World documentary? Okay, so what is this? The United States State Department cited the aforementioned article in its 2022 Country Reports on Human Rights Practices in Yemen. The newspaper Sharq al-Assad reported in 2019 that prominent Houthis held more than 1,800 citizens as slaves and servants. While you many not consider, bro, literally just like insane fucking shit in terms of this cease and desist letter, in terms of like the typos that they have, in terms of misrepresenting what their client is saying in his video. Insane stuff. So they're like, while many not consider the State Department trustworthy, it is maybe instead of saying while you many, maybe they're trying to say, while many do not consider the State Department trustworthy, it is highly unlikely a judge or jury will share opinion, particularly based on nothing more than blithe assertions. Okay, let's continue. Further, it is evident you did not watch the Al Jazeera World documentary Slavery in Yemen. The documentary focused on Yemen's overall culture of slavery and the deposed government's denials of its existence. Moreover, it is highly misleading to claim it was issued before the Houthi takeover of Yemen, since the Houthis controlled parts of Yemen as early as March 2011 with the Battle of Sadr. Further, the Al Jazeera documentary was released on September 10, 2014, 6 days before the Battle of Sana'a and 11 days before the Houthis prevailed on September 21st, 2014. Wait. How does saying the documentary was released before the Houthis took over Yemen? How does saying, don't worry, this documentary didn't take place before the Houthis took over Yemen because it was released 10 days before the Houthis took over Yemen? Guys, you aren't allowed to disagree with the State Department? I'm actually like so confused. Am I misreading this, guys? It says, it is evident you did not watch the Al Jazeera World documentary, Slavery in Yemen. The documentary focused on Yemen's overall culture of slavery and the deposed government's denials of its existence. Okay, so far it's saying the documentary is focusing on the government that the Houthis replaced. So literally saying that like the government that supported slavery, and that was in existence before the Houthis took place. Moreover, it is highly misleading to claim it was issued before the Houthi takeover of Yemen, since the Houthis controlled parts of Yemen as early as March 11, 2011 with the Battle of Sadr. Okay, so they controlled a city. Further, the Al Jazeera documentary was released on September 10th, 2014, 6 days before the Battle of Sana'a and 11 days before so they're like, it's misleading. It's misleading to claim that the documentary was released before the Houthis took over Yemen, because 10 days after the documentary was released, the Houthis won like a few battles that let them take over Yemen. Your blithe factual assertions that Ethan misrepresented information about Hezbollah and the Houthis, particularly after you watched the nuke, along with failing to disclose or misrepresenting the factual basis for the third defamatory statements, demonstrates you knew it was false. No, it doesn't. He literally did include claims Ethan made that he disproved. And also, saying that Ethan has spread misinformation and just not citing misinformation doesn't amount to defamation. That just amounts to like a lazy video. And Noah Samsen has cited multiple examples where Ethan miscites the evidence that he used. Like he has cited multiple times where Ethan was spreading misinformation. He just didn't back up every single claim he made. He backed up the majority of the claims that he made. He didn't back up every single claim. So I'm like really shocked. Like Ethan's lawyer is literally saying, oh yeah, it's misleading to say that the Houthis didn't have control of Yemen because after the documentary was released, they took control of Yemen. What the actual fuck? Like, did Ethan Klein write this? Like, this has no standing whatsoever. Okay, so let's go. So anyway, how do you strike through things? Alt-Shift-5? Okay, perfect. Claim number 4. We're almost done, guys. Ethan spreads Nakba denial as talking points. The fourth defamatory statement, you did not identify 1. What Ethan said that denied the Nakba, 2. How those points were debunked, and 3. How these talking points legitimize Israeli colonization. Instead, you show a screenshot of Bad Empanada's video entitled Nakba Denier, Expulsion Liar, Content Nuke Destroyed number 6. The Bad Empanada video, with the text debunked here by Bad Empanada. You are well aware that Bad Empanada has exhibited... Okay, so I literally just said this in the last thing where if Noah says Ethan lied about this and then doesn't explain why he lied about it, that doesn't amount to defamation. Like, not including sources that are refuting every single thing Ethan lied does not mean that you are knowingly misrepresenting like your position on Ethan and trying to defame him. That just means that, once again, it's like kind of a lazy section of that video. But yeah, let's watch this. Let's just watch this video. Nakba denier, expulsion liar, content nuke destroyed. Let's just watch this video really quick. Nakba denier, content nuke. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to search this up. Bad Empanada. What the hell? Holy shit. 4 hours? Well, my stream was like 6 hours on the content nuke, so get fucked, Bad Empanada. Let's just look this up. Nakba, the partition and the expulsions of Zionist myths refuted. Is it in his other channel? Bad Empanada live. Nakba. Wait, this is literally not even the title of the video. Entitled Nakba Denier, Expulsion Liar, Content Nuke Destroyed number 6. That's not the title of the video at all. Ethan Klein denies Nakba, lies about Jewish expulsion, Content Nuke Destroyed number... Did he change the title of the video, or can they not even properly cite video titles? He only mentioned it to say more Jews were displaced. Yeah, exactly. Like, let's just see what...
Hello everyone, welcome to another debunking of Ethan Klein's supposed content nuke. So at one point in his supposed content nuke, Ethan Klein attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state and its expulsion of Palestinians by glossing over the Nakba, and that basically the Arab world just randomly, crazily became full anti-Semitic, not reacting to anything in particular at all, and expelled and forced out and pogromed all of the Jews. And we're going to go over all of the examples that he uses here to justify this claim. So firstly, let's watch him gloss over the Nakba here.
To think that Jews as an ethnic minority in Israel would not be safe? After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from...
It's so funny. Does he think he's a refugee or Hila Klein are a refugee? You guys aren't refugees. You make refugees. Palestinians are refugees because of you. Get it straight, okay?
From Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries that expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
So the Nakba for him was just a war, like this long-planned expulsion of Palestinians, which the Arab intervention was explicitly a reaction to. So how is it a nation of refugees when it declared its independence and its own like dominion over land that it had taken from Palestinians, when these people weren't even there yet, obviously? And then watch this.
1 million Jews. All of these surrounding Arab countries had vibrant Jewish communities in huge number, hundreds of thousands. Now, if you look at them, you're looking at close to, if not literally, 0 Jews left in these countries. Just to give you an...
Now let's go over his examples of this, okay? Let's go over his justifications for this and let's see how much this lines up with his narrative of expulsion.
Idea. Here's a visual representation of the Jewish refugees after 1948. Morocco had 265,000 Jews. Now it has 2,000.
Okay, so Morocco at this time was not self-ruling. It was still a French colonial possession. What happened in Morocco is that the Jewish Agency, which was one of the leading organizations advocating for forming a colonial state in Palestine and trying to further such ends, struck an agreement with the French government.
I mean, so we can listen to this, and I'm sure we're going to be listening to it more as the letter actually gets into it, but right off the bat saying that 1 million Jews were expelled is a fucking lie. Like, we can just very easily look up what happened, and it says that the Jewish exodus from the Muslim world occurred in the 20th century when approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or were expelled from Muslim majority countries. So right off the bat, that's like a misrepresentation of the Jewish expulsion from Arab countries. And like, we can also just take a look at like the reason why it happened. So large-scale migrations were also organized, sponsored, and facilitated by Zionist organizations, the Jewish Agency, and then they list the Zionist organizations. The mass movement mainly transpired from 1948 to the early 1970s, with one final exodus of Iranian Jews occurring shortly after the Islamic Revolution. An estimated 650,000 of these Jews resettled in Israel. So once again, saying that they were the reasons, saying that they were like it was all because of pogroms is also a lie. The reasons for these exoduses include pull factors such as the desire to fulfill Zionism, better economic prospects and security, and the Israeli government's 1 million plan to accommodate Jewish immigrants from Arab and Muslim majority countries, and push factors such as violent and other anti-Semitism in the Arab and other forms of anti-Semitism in the Arab world, political instability, poverty, and expulsion. The history of the Exodus has been politicized given its proposed relevance to the historical narrative of the Arab-Israeli conflict. Those who view the Jewish Exodus as analogous to the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight generally emphasize the push factors and consider those who left to have been refugees, while those who oppose that view generally emphasize the pull factors and consider the Jews to have been willing immigrants. And I think that like it's fair to say that there is a mix of both. I also think it's fair to say that Zionism is the cause of both push factors and pull factors. And then also, like, we can take a look at the 1948 Palestinian expulsion. In the 1948 Palestine War, more than 700,000 Palestinian Arabs, about half of mandatory Palestine's predominantly Arab population, were expelled or fled from their homes, at first by Zionist paramilitaries and after the establishment of Israel by its military. The expulsion and flight was a central component of the fracturing, dispossession, and displacement of Palestinian society known as the Nakba. Dozens of massacres targeting Arabs were conducted by Israeli military forces, and between 400 and 600 Palestinian villages were destroyed. Village wells were poisoned in a biological warfare program, and properties were looted to prevent Palestinian refugees from returning. Other sites were subject to Hebraization of the Palestinian place names. So, like, this is obviously genocidal, and even though there's, like, push factors such as, like, the Iranian Revolution and pogroms against Jews, there's also pull factors, or the like literal Zionist organizations were trying to get Jews to leave these countries. So when we have Ethan Klein saying, what the fuck was he saying?
And for the first time, I noticed an inordinate.
What was the timestamp that Empanada was watching? 15:25.
In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
Yes.
The problem is that Israel's been at war with its neighbors for 70 plus years, and it makes a lot of sense that there'd be some distrust there. Is it really insane to think that Jews, as an ethnic minority in Israel, would not be safe?
Yeah, that's so fucking racist, man.
After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust.
Like, he's literally defending the ethno-state of Israel by saying that the creation of the ethno-state of Israel justifies it. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, well, because we wanted to make an ethno-state and Jewish populations were like pushed and pulled out of neighboring Arab states, that necessitates that we maintain this ethno-state, because otherwise Jewish populations would be targeted again. It's like, they were targeted both by pogroms and anti-Semitism and by Zionism because of Zionism, because of the belief that they need to have an ethno-state.
They came from the surrounding Arab countries that expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews. All of these surrounding Arab countries had vibrant Jewish communities in huge number, hundreds of thousands. Now, if you look at them, you're looking at close to, if not literally, 0 Jews left in these countries.
Okay, so he's saying that they were expelled. 1 million Jews were expelled in the 1948 war, which is just not true. I mean, we can see that 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or were expelled from Muslim-majority countries. During the 20th century, the mass movement mainly transpired from 1948 to the early 1970s. So literally like 22 years where 900,000 people came. And he said that it was all due to the 1948 war. So like all of this is misinformation. And if Ethan Klein or if Noah Samsen is making the claim that Ethan did misinformation about the Nakba, comparing it to the Jewish exodus from the Muslim world, that's just 100% true. Like, let's find what Ethan Klein says about this. Let's go back to this stupid letter. So the fourth defamatory statement, what is the timestamp for that? Timestamp for fourth defamatory statement is 44:22. Let's play it.
From Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar Allah, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis, it was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly.
Okay, so he just says that he spreads Nakba denialist talking points. And yeah, Noah Samsen can easily make the claim that insisting that the Jewish expulsion from Arab worlds or from Arab countries was like a greater harm than the Nakba, which Ethan Klein objectively does, is a Nakba denialist talking point. Noah Samsen can easily make that claim. So they're going to have to say that, like, no, Ethan Klein wasn't saying that it was worse than the Nakba, when he literally is. Just once again, let's like play this fucking clip over again.
During the Nakba, 1 million Jews in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews. All of these surrounding Arab countries had vibrant Jewish communities in huge number, hundreds of thousands. Now, if you look at them, you're looking at close to, if not literally, 0 Jews left in these countries.
Just to give you an
idea. Okay, so yeah, he claims that like, oh yeah, worse than the Nakba. Okay, let's continue reading this. The fourth defamatory statement. You do not identify what Ethan said that denied the Nakba. 2, how those points were debunked. And 3, how these talking points legitimize Israeli colonization. Instead, you show a screenshot of BE's video titled Nakba Denier, not even the title of the video, with the text debunked here by Bad Empanada. You are well aware that Bad Empanada has exhibited tremendous bias against Ethan and is known for spreading misinformation and anti-Semitism. Okay. Weird shit to say. Just remember, Ethan said that he tried to make this letter as factual and dry as possible. And they're like, you know that Bad Empanada hates Ethan and spreads anti-Semitism about him. The Bad Empanada video exemplifies this point. The Bad Empanada video begins with him claiming he claims to have claimed that Ethan Klein did this. Ethan Klein attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state by glossing over the Nakba. Bad Empanada video. Okay, this is completely false, and Bad Empanada fails to show any clip from the nuke supporting this assertion. Well, when you say the Nakba when you say it's like even more Jews were expelled following the 1948 war than Palestinians in the Nakba, that is kind of glossing over the Nakba, I would say. Rather, in the clip cited by Bad Empanada, Ethan discusses 1, that Jews would not feel safe as an ethnic minority, Why are they including that? That does not make Ethan look good. 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries. 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. I mean, also an insane thing to do. Like, as Chat said, it's like, oh my God, Salamander, I just read your comment. You are well aware that bad Empanada has been a very naughty boy. No, but as Chat said, the Nakba happened in a year, and the Jewish expulsion from Arab worlds happened over the course of like 20 to 30 years, with a final exodus of Iranian Jews. Following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba, and 4, there are hardly any Jews left in Arab countries. In Bad Empanada video. Just once again, let's play this over again.
In fact, there was more. Israel is a country of refugees with its neighbors for 70 plus years, and it makes a lot of sense that there be some distrust there. Is it really insane to think that Jews, as an ethnic minority in Israel, would not be safe? After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries that expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. And
yeah, but like, it's true that Arab countries expelled Jewish populations, but it is lying by omission when he says that Jews came from these countries that expelled them. He's lying because he's not talking about the Zionist plan to get 1 million Jews out of neighboring Arab countries. He's just not talking about that at all, making it seem like this was completely due to a genocide by Arab countries, and thus saying it was worse than the Nakba.
in fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
Right, exactly. So he says, oh yeah, all of these Jews were refugees expelled by Arab countries. In fact, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. Basically saying, there was only one force that happened during the Nakba, and that was genocide by Zionist settlers. That's not the same as what happened when Jews were expelled from Arab countries. There were Zionist movements trying to facilitate emigration out of these Arab countries and resettling Jews to Israel. There was no such forces for the Nakba.
1 million Jews. All of these.
Also, he lied about that. There was not 1 million Jews expelled from Arab countries. That's simply a lie.
Surrounding Arab countries had vibrant Jewish communities in huge number, hundreds of thousands. Now, if you look at them, you're looking at close to, if not literally, 0 Jews left in these countries.
Just to give you an idea, here's a visual. 140 is now known Jew. We know
their lives.
It's so funny too. Like, he's literally lying about this map, and he says that he knowingly lied about it. He's like, after the content nuke, he tells his producers, he's like, oh yeah, I used that map because I know it's outdated, but it was funnier to say that there is only one Jew. So he's literally lying about this map as well. Like, he's knowingly spreading misinformation.
Over in He's the
Israel. They migrate to the only place in the world that would accept them, which was Israel. The irony of this whole situation. Forced to leave their homes.
We love him. He's the one Afghan Jew.
They were forced to leave their homes, their lives, their property, and migrate to the only place.
That's literally not true. I mean, Zionist organizations worked to encourage these people for like better economic prospects or whatever. Also spreading the lie of Zionism, where this is like a homeland for the Jews, so you should go there. I mean, we can read about this, but it's pretty well summarized right here. The reasons for the exoduses include pull factors such as a desire to fill Zionism, the Israeli government's 1 million plan to accommodate Jewish immigrants. Let's just take a look at what this is. It was a strategic plan for immigration and absorption of 1 million Jews from Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa into mandatory Palestine within a time frame of 18 months in order to establish a state in that territory. After being voted on the Jewish Agency for Palestine Executive in 1944, it became the official policy of the Zionist leadership. Implementation of a significant part of the 1 million plan took place following the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. So how successful was it? Following establishment of the planning committee, immigration candidates, the plan, let's see what the plan was. Envisioning the arrival of a million Jews over 18 months was completed in summer 1944, providing details of transportation, refugee camps, and the financing required. The plan was first presented to the Jewish Agency Executive on 24th June 1944, not as an operative plan since the British immigration restrictions were still in place at the time, but as a political plan to formulate the requirements of the Zionist organization at the end of World War II. From 1944 onwards, the plan became the official policy of Zionist leadership, and the immigration of Jews from Arab and Muslim countries became explicit or implicit in all the declarations, testimonies, memoranda, and state and demands issued by the Jewish Agency from World War II until the establishment of the state. Ben-Gurion saw immigration as the top priority of the Zionist project, but was aware of the challenges of such a large-scale project, stating the following: 1948 Arab-Israeli war. The main thing is the absorption of immigrants, and this embodies all the historical needs of the state. We might have captured the West Bank, the Golan, and the entire Galilee, but those conquests would not have reinforced our territory as much as immigration. Doubling and tripling the number of immigrants gives us more and more strength. This is the most important thing above all else. Settlement, that is a real conquest. The first organizational measure of the plan was the late 1943 General Plan of Action entitled the Uniform Pioneer to the Eastern Lands, which would offer a course for emissaries from the Jewish Agency Immigration Department to later be sent Islamic countries. These activities in Islamic countries lost their urgency and attraction after World War II, and the boost in resources they received dwindled. The number of activists in these countries was minuscule compared to Europe, where there were not even enough of them to maintain what was already established. They presented a map of the estimated 750,000 Jews in Islamic countries and noted that many of the Jews in Europe will perish in the Holocaust and the Jews of Russia are locked in. Therefore, the quantitative value of these 750,000 Jews has risen to the level of highly valuable political factor within the framework of a world Jewry. The primary task we face is to rescue this Jewry, and the time has come to mount an assault on this Jewry for a Zionist conquest. Holy shit. The head of the Jewish Agency's immigration department has said that one of the issues that came up during discussions of the 1 million plan was the security of Jewish communities in Islamic countries. In a 1943 Mapai Central Committee speech, Eliai Dobkin stated his view that the creation of Israel and Arab Palestine will create danger for Jews living in other Arab countries. And Ben-Gurion wrote at a similar time of the catastrophe that Jews in Eastern lands are expected to face as a result of Zionism. Policies were not put in place to enhance Zionist activity in the target countries to ensure that immigrants would come. Policies were put in place to enhance Zionist activity in the target countries to ensure that immigrants would come. Esther Meyer-Glitzenstein notes that, interestingly, Ben-Gurion cites political and rational reasons for bringing Jews, displaced persons from Europe, whereas in discussing the immigration of the Jews from Islamic countries, he mentions not only a political and rational reason, but also a cultural Orientalist explanation, since the degeneration of the East was one of the basic elements of this perception. So anyway, like obviously they knew that establishing an ethno-state would cause hatred of people of that ethnicity, and were kind of counting on that. And then let's just read the rest of this. They took place in the newly established state of Israel. This included mass aliyah, the setting up of immigration camps, and ma'abaro. As a result of the withdrawal of British forces and the declaration of the State of Israel in May 1948, the immigration restrictions to the country were removed, making it possible to implement the policy changes relating to large-scale aliyah focused on Jews from Arab and Muslim countries. Ben-Gurion's government subsequently presented the Knesset with a plan to double the population of 600,000 within 4 years. This immigration policy had some opposition within the new Israeli government, such as those who argued that there was no justification for organizing large-scale immigration among Jews whose lives were not in danger, particularly when the desire and motivation were not their own, as well as those who argued that the absorption process caused undue hardship. However, the force of Ben-Gurion's influence and insistence ensured that unrestricted immigration continued. According to Dr. Irit Katz, the Ma'abaro camps were the product of the 1 million plan. Dr. Roy Kozlovsky notes that the prior existence of the 1 million plan suggests that the concept of the Ma'abara was in fact the precondition for, not the effect of, mass immigration. Dr. Piera Rosetto described the debate around the conditions of the Ma'abaro, stating her opinion that the most that the most controversial issue in this respect is not the outcome of the choice, rather the choice in itself to bring to Israel so many thousands of immigrants, following the idea of the 1 million plan unveiled by Ben Gurion in 1944. So saying that like 1 million Jews were expelled, were like pogromed out of Arab nations following the 1944 war is simply a lie.
In the world that would
love him. He's the one Afghan Jew.
They were forced to leave their homes, their lives, their property, and migrate to the only place in the world that would accept them, which was Israel. The irony of this whole situation is that after the 1948 war, when Israel won the war to declare its independence, the Arab countries got super anti-Semitic against their own Jewish citizenry that had nothing to do with Israel. And as a result,
like, it's so insane to say that the Jews living in Arab states have nothing to do with Israel. They have everything to do with Israel. Like, literally, you look up any kind of history of Israel, and the entire goal of Israel is to get as many Jews as possible to move there, including the Jews in Arab states. And they knew that by setting up an ethno-state and saying that Jews are like better than Arabs and they have more rights than Arabs, that was going to cause harm to Jewish populations living in Arab countries. And what's funny is like they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll have the Jews who want to leave their countries, we'll encourage immigration for them, but then we're also going to encourage immigration for Jews who have good lives in their countries. Anyway, I'm surprised he hasn't busted out a ukulele to fake apologize. Okay, so we got down like a rabbit hole, but what is happening here? 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries. 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. Once again, he said there were more Jews expelled than Palestinians during the Nakba. He doesn't say displaced. What the actual fuck?
Known Jews.
Like, holy shit.
Minority in Israel would not be safe. After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries that expelled them.
Yeah, he says they came from these Arab countries that expelled them. He didn't say that they were displaced.
In massive amounts following the 1948 war.
Actually insane editorializing from these lawyers who continuously insist on changing what Ethan said to, like, basically make it so that he's not lying. They're like, oh shit, Ethan lied here, we'll just change what he said. There were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. There are hardly any Jews left in Arab countries. Yeah, just like insane fucking lying. They're just lying. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Well, it literally does, because he says 1 million Jews were expelled. In fact, more than what happened during the Nakba. He completely ignores the fact that Jews weren't actually, not all of the Jews that left Arab countries were pogromed out of there. A lot of them were encouraged and their immigration was facilitated by Israel and Zionist groups. Nothing like that happened during the Nakba. And he also ignores the fact that it was like fucking 700,000 Palestinians in a year compared to 750 or 900,000 Jews over the course of 30 years. And once again, not all of that was a genocide. Like, there was definitely violence and anti-Semitism, but that wasn't the main cause of it. He calls it the war for Israel's independence several times too. Yeah. Do they actually do it on purpose? Like, can a lawyer actually just lie about what their client said in order to be like, nuh-uh, my client didn't say that, thus you're defaming him, when he literally said the thing that Noah Samsen said he said? Okay, none of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews... Once again, bro, he literally said 1 million Jews. They're not like, what the fuck? They're like, our client said... It's like, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or were expelled from Muslim-majority countries. Okay. Wait, what? Wait, oh, okay, what are they citing with this? 17? The UN? Okay. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or were expelled from Muslim-majority countries throughout Africa, Asia, and primarily as a consequence of the establishment of the State of Israel. And the Nakba turned 700,000 Palestinians into refugees, which was mainly caused by Israeli arms, which was, what the fuck? That's literally downplaying the Nakba. Like, you can't compare the Nakba to the Jewish exodus of Arab countries. It's incomparable. It's two completely different things. I'm just gonna move on from that because he literally downplays it. He says 1 million people were expelled, even more than what happened in the Nakba. And the lawyer's like, no, he just said that 900,000 Jews were displaced through various causes. No, bro. He literally said 1 million Jews were expelled from Arab countries that were anti-Semitic. That's why we need an ethno-state to protect ourselves from Arabs that hate Jews. Okay, next, Bad Empanada attempts to debunk the exodus of Jews from Morocco. Okay, I don't even care about this. I really don't care about this. Like, they're getting into the weeds of, like, a Bad Empanada video. Once again, I don't even give a fuck. Further, Bad Empanada misrepresent, like, bro, it's so fucking stupid. Noah Samsen can just be like, no, like, I thought that, I in good faith thought that Bad Empanada video debunked what Ethan said. Like, they can't attribute malice to any of this. Like, I'm just not going to read any of this about Bad Empanada because it's irrelevant. Okay, continue. Like, if Ethan Klein and his lawyers are going to say that Bad Empanada misstated or he overstated the effect that Zionist organizations had on the immigration of Jews, they literally say here in their source that they cited that it was a consequence of the establishment of the State of Israel. And they migrated, fled, or were expelled due to the establishment of the State of Israel. Like, they're literally saying inside of that definition that they were citing from the UN, it gives them room to say that Zionist organizations were responsible for this. And we're getting into the weeds on, like, Iraqi Jews were lynched before this happened in 1947. Actually, kind of crazy. Okay, let's just skip to this. Oh, okay, let's read the summary. All this demonstrates that the source you disclosed as the basis for the fourth defamatory statement was false and transparently biased against Ethan. Transparently biased against Ethan. That's not funny. This demonstrates you made the fourth defamatory statement with a reckless disregard for the truth. No, he didn't, bro. I mean, there's other claims that you can find of Ethan lying. Once again, you can just look at his video at any timestamp and find a lie about it. Also, because he cited a source and you're like, no, I disagree with that source, that doesn't mean that it's blatantly true and Noah Samsen knew it was false and biased against Ethan and thus he's defaming him because of the source he used. The sixth defamatory statement. And the sixth defamatory statement was Ethan smears Rashid al-Haddad. Okay, this one should be good. You completely failed to disclose the factual basis for the sixth defamatory statement, i.e. that Ethan labeled al-Haddad as a terrorist with zero credible evidence. The nuke, my God, this is embarrassing, shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitted to being a Houthi terrorist and echoed the Houthis' genocidal rhetoric. The nuke at 4743, 49, 4005. Okay, so what is this? The nuke shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitted to being a Houthi terrorist and echoed the Houthis' genocidal rhetoric. The nuke at 4743, 49, 4005. Despite your knowledge of al-Haddad's... Okay, so 4743, let's play it. Boop, 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 boop.
For it. And
stream? Yes, brother. What do you mean?
all right, let's just take Hasan's word for it and assume, okay, this kid is not a Houthi rebel. He's just some ordinary Yemen teenager. Let's go ahead and take a look at his social media and see if that lines up.
All right, let's see here.
Tel Aviv will burn in the coming hours. Okay.
Tel Aviv will burn in the coming hours, ready for sacrifice and eager for martyrdom. Maybe he's talking about football? Here he is singing a song with the words, "Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew?" Meaning of Houthi is a title, and it's not something to fear, but for the Jews. They are very
And it is not something to fear, but the Jews.
Afraid of this title. The execution we will carry out on all Zionists, with the lovely depiction of a man impaled through his asshole and out of his mouth with a pike, or how Hasan likes to say it, a pike for a cut. Okay, why would he retweet this article called "Houthis Use Social Media to Boost Global Prominence and Support"? Israel falls. Wait for the new operation in Tel Aviv. The Jaffa drone, which no Israeli defense can stop. The ships we bombed and sank. I know the red arrow is supposed to be a cool military Hamas thing. This is a butt plug. Just saying. To every Zionist, I will put this into your stomach. And let me state the obvious. Jew and Zionist is clearly interchangeable to this guy. Okay, but hating Jews doesn't make you a Houthi. Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive. You know what makes you a Houthi? Being a Houthi. At least one of the two of them is being honest about it.
No way!
Yeah.
That's sick. Yes, that's fire. And that's so fire. Oh my god. We think the Houthis is doing what Luffy would do.
Wait, is that it?
They're tweeting an image of a Jewish person on a pike. I don't understand why this.
It's really funny that he's like using the Seinfeld theme for this video when Seinfeld is a fucking raging Zionist. Once again, this is misstating what Ethan did in the nuke. They say that the nuke shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitted to being a Houthi terrorist. When did he do that? Is it because that one social media said, "Are you a soldier?" and he said yes? That's literally not the same as saying I'm a Houthi terrorist. And echoed the Houthis' genocidal rhetoric. Oh, it's an echoing of the rhetoric. Despite your knowledge of al-Haddad's social media posts, you stated there was zero credible evidence that al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument. With, bro, there is zero evidence. Social media posts where he's like saying I'm gonna kill Zionists. Is that evidence that he's a Houthi member? Yeah, this is insane. That al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. This demonstrates you knew the sixth defamatory statement was false. Okay. Wait, that's it? Okay, holy shit. This actually has no sauce whatsoever. Like, once again, okay, I need to go through this. That was the end of the video, or that was the end of the letter. Okay, let's read this. Our clients demand that you provide a retraction to correction of all the defamatory statements identified in this letter. Insane shit. This letter does not constitute. They literally just lie in the letter. They're like, no, Ethan or our client never said this. He said this. They just lie and misrepresent what he was saying. It's fucking insane. Like, I should write down the examples. But it's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Like, what are the examples that we're looking at? They're like, okay, so the whole bad Empanada thing is crazy. So let's just really quick run through these statements again. So the first defamatory statements, who cares? Who cares about Mudahar, honestly? So it is clear you knew that Ethan did not support genocide because you watch or claim to have watched, blah, 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 but still labeled him being one. Additionally, Ethan condemned the genocide on Gaza on numerous occasions. Prior to the nuke, your desire to falsely paint, like, I would love to get timestamps of that. I would love to get timestamps of Ethan condemning the genocide, because now he's calling it a war and he's saying it's Hamas's fault. So you did not disclose the factual basis for how Ethan engaged in every type of manufactured consent, with the one exception, your false assertion that Ethan spread the Hamas mass rape hoax. So actually, they also lie with the fucking rape, with the rape stuff, because they said it was clear that Mudahar, they said that the UN report made it clear the mass rapes happened, which is just not true at all. Let me make a list of lies. Lies. Basically, he thinks if he says Netanyahu is bad, he can say whatever else he wants. Yeah. So the mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your first defamatory video, you cite paragraphs 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video, from the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. That's not true. I'm going to say page 7. It makes clear mass rapes happened on Oct 7. What else? The UN report found clear and convincing evidence that some hostages, emphasis added. Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion that Hamas did not engage in. That was hilarious too. They're like, the UN report didn't find that rapes didn't happen. Okay, I'm just gonna like write down funny things. UN report did not say that mass rapes didn't happen. And then they also said that rapes happened to captives. That was funny. Okay, what else do we have here? Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory statement, you cite materials that you claim support your assertion the same hoax was used by Western media. The materials you cited, however, only discuss conflict-related sexual violence in general, and not just October 7th, and did not discuss Israel's actions in Gaza whatsoever. Once again, like, that's a weird thing to say, and it's purposely putting your head in the sand that you're like, oh, saying like dehumanizing Palestinians is not helping this genocide take place. The materials you cited, however, only discuss conflict-related sexual violence in general. That's literally not true, because he cited a documentary that was made about sexual violence on October 7th. Materials you cited did not discuss CRSV, or only discussed CRSV in general. Only discussed CRSV in general, not just Oct 7, which is literally not true. Like, that's just a lie. Third defamatory statement. Despite making the factual assertion that Ethan spread over misinformation and spread lies about Hezbollah, you did not identify a single piece of misinformation or falsehood made about the organization. Okay, that's fair. You did not address, let alone refute, the assertions made in the nuke that Hezbollah engaged in terrorism, resulting in the deaths. Oh yeah, they said that Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war, which resulted in deaths of hundreds of thousands. That's a lie, because Ethan did not say that. They claimed Ethan only said has intervened in war, not killing hundreds of thousands. He actually said they killed 500,000 civilians and did genocide. Like, literally, they just lie about what Ethan's saying. Also, to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. Literally did claim that. Okay, instead you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. Lied about that too. They said he claimed Houthis engage in slavery. He actually said they brought it back to Yemen. Okay, they also said like the documentary somehow came out simultaneously before and after the Houthis took over Yemen. Al Jazeera doc simultaneously came out before and after Houthis had control in Yemen. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, HK, thank you for the gifted memberships. You're literally doing the job that Noah's lawyer is going to have to do. Is there a source for the Houthi slavery stuff that isn't owned by a Saudi prince? Yeah, I was trying to find a source for it. It's extremely difficult to find, and it's kind of telling that the United States State Department cited that one article. Like, is there no other articles about slavery in Yemen? I would imagine there is. So you do not identify what Ethan said that denied the Nakba. 2, how those points were debunked. 3, you are well aware that bad Empanada is mean to Ethan. The BE video exemplifies this point. Ethan attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state by glossing over the Nakba. None of these denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, the Jews would not feel safe as an ethnic minority. 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries. 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. That's literally not what Ethan said whatsoever. This is page 10. Page 10 says, Ethan says said Jews were displaced. He actually said they were expelled. I mean, they're just, I'm actually, like, I know you guys say that lawyers do this, but I'm just shocked by the blatant amount of lying about, like, for their client. There were hardly any Jews. Bad Empanada video. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact. And then E also says that 1 million Jews were expelled. E says 1 million Jews were expelled. Lawyers say 900,000. Which is mainly caused by Israeli arms. Okay, and then, like, we're gonna skip all of the fucking bad Empanada stuff because it's irrelevant, honestly. And then, the 6th defamatory statement. And you completely failed to disclose the factual basis for the 6th defamatory statement that Ethan labeled al-Haddad a terrorist with zero credible evidence. The nuke shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitted to being a Houthi terrorist. That's literally not true. Page 15 says he showed posts of Rashid admitting to being a Houthi terrorist. Admitting to being a Houthi terrorist. Oh, sorry, that's kind of getting cut off. Okay, despite the nuke shows and echoing the Houthis' genocidal rhetoric. I'll give them that. The nuke had 47 blah blah blah. Despite your knowledge of al-Haddad's social media posts, you stated there was zero credible evidence that al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. This demonstrates you knew the 6th defamatory statement. Like, guys, am I wrong? Or making a claim without evidence doesn't prove that you know your claim is false. Like, that's a crazy standard to say. I've never seen this lawyer, so as far as I know, it's ChatGPT. You forgot lawyer say displaced, not expelled? No, I think I wrote that down. Page 10 says Ethan said Jews were displaced. He actually said they were expelled. Yeah, I wrote that down right here. But I'm actually, like, why do they assume that saying something without supporting evidence automatically proves you know it was false? Why do they include that in their definition of defamation? The law of defamation. Libel is defined as a false and unprivileged publication by writing, printing, picture. Okay, the defamatory statement must contain a provable falsehood, sometimes referred to as a false assertion of fact. To decide whether a statement expresses or implies a provably false assertion of fact, courts use a totality of the circumstances test. This requires examining both the language of the statement and the context in which it is made. The dispositive question is whether a reasonable fact finder can conclude the published statement declares or implies a provably false assertion of fact. Actionable assertions of fact are statements that are factually specific, earnest, or serious in tone. I guess that's why they use that language to describe Noah Samsen. Furthermore, an opinion based on implied undisclosed facts is actionable if the speaker has no factual basis for the opinion. An opinion based on implied undisclosed facts is actionable if the speaker has no factual basis for the opinion. So they're saying that, if the speaker has no factual basis for the opinion, but they imply that they do, then that's actionable. Rather, an opinion is not actionable if it discloses all the statements of fact on which the opinion is based and those statements are true. Where the factual basis is disputed or relies on another defamatory statement, the statements are still actionable. So I guess that's why they were going so far to say that Bad Empanada's video of Ethan was defamatory. When the person defamed is a public figure, the defamatory statement must be made with actual malice, that is, with knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false or not. Knowledge of falsity can be proven by demonstrating the defendant reviewed information contradicting the defamatory statement. That's why they're like, you saw the content, Nuke, so you know it's false. Reckless disregard means the defendant either entertained serious doubts as to the truth of its publication or acted with a high degree of awareness of probable falsity, which is kind of funny because they went into like 5 pages of trying to disprove Bad Empanada's video. So Noah Samsen could just be like, no, they have to make the claim that Noah Samsen acted with a high degree of awareness that that video was probably false, when they went into 5 pages of like in-depth, well, you said that an expulsion happened at this year, but it was actually at this date, and thus we can make the claim that like that more leans into Jews being expelled rather than them being encouraged to emigrate to the Zionist organizations. That's a pretty high burden of evidence to put onto Noah Samsen. Like he can just easily make the claim, no, I believe Bad Empanada's video. Like I don't think they can make the claim. I don't think they could really win by making the claim that Noah Samsen had a high awareness that that video was probably false. Anger and hostility toward the plaintiff. So it can be proved by circumstantial evidence, including a failure to investigate, anger and hostility toward the plaintiff, reliance upon sources known to be unreliable or known to be biased against plaintiff. I guess that's why they're including Bad Empanada was mean to my client. These factors are given additional weight the more the defamatory statement deviates from the truth. False statements that are completely fabricated by the defendant or so inherently improbable that only a reckless man would publish them, likely to have been made with actual malice. Applying these principles, it is evident that the statements identified below from the first defamatory... Okay, so then they're actually talking about this shit. But anyway, I think this is interesting, right? So they're saying that an opinion based on implied undisclosed facts is actionable if the speaker has no factual basis for the opinion. That's why they're saying that you didn't include facts to back up your statements that Ethan was lying. But what they're missing is that Noah Samsen can just be like, no, these are based off of, I do have a factual basis for my opinion. I just didn't include the factual basis for every single point in my video. And he included them for a lot. Okay. Ethan is the one doing the actual malice. No, by no, I mean, no, Noah isn't doing actual malice. Let's watch some Snick. What's Snick? Okay, let's continue this. Where was I? Was I page 15? Oh, yeah. This demonstrates you knew the 6th defamatory statement was false. Like, you stated there was zero credible evidence that Al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. Yeah, once again, they're not saying, like, in their own definition of knowingly lying, their own definition said, if you imply something to be true, but you don't have a factual basis for it, but you imply that you do, that means that could be evidence of defamation. But Noah Samsen does have a factual basis for this, and the factual basis is that there actually isn't any credible evidence. And Ethan Klein like they're going to need to disprove every claim that Noah Samsen made. They can't just say you didn't provide evidence, thus you're defaming my client. And like when you literally lie in your cease and desist letter saying that we have a social media post of Rashid al-Haddad admitting he's a Houthi terrorist, when you don't, where do you go from there? Anyway, so that's funny. I do want to watch Ethan read through this really quick. So and then we'll get into let's let Ethan read through this.
Talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israelis' colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rape allegations, which the report itself denies. The sixth defamatory statement, he spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of a U.S.-backed Saudi genocide in Yemen as a terrorist with zero credible evidence, he claims. So these are the defamatory statements he said about me, and it's just a party, right? It's just so much fun here. We're having so much fun here, aren't we, Noah?
The other thing that confuses me about this cease and desist letter is they spent like 3 or 4 pages on Mudahar defending him from the first defamatory statement, which was the YouTubers that backed to genocide. It was the title of the video and the thumbnail of the video. And yet they don't defend Ethan from that, which is really interesting. It's either like, oh no, it's implied that our client, I guess they say it right here. Further, it is clear that you knew Ethan did not support the genocide because you watched or claimed to watch content nuke Hasan Piker. And in the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. This emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still labeled him being one. Just once again, like weird grammar. Additionally, Ethan condemned the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of your first defamatory video where you state, and then all of this. But anyway, it's kind of weird that they don't give it like its own segment, right? They're not like, okay, we're going to address this defamatory statement for Ethan now. And just once again, if Ethan says, oh yeah, I don't support the genocide, but then he insists on saying, oh, but Israel has points and Gaza has points and like actually Hamas is to blame for this war, Noah Samsen can easily just say, yeah, I view you saying that you blame Hamas for what's happening as supporting the genocide or like backing the genocide. And Noah Samsen literally like explains his definition of backing genocide in his video, and then goes on to explain how Ethan Klein fits into that.
Just like you promised. Further, it is clear you knew that Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza because you watched or claimed to watch content nuke Hasan Piker. In the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israelis' treatment of Palestinians. This emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still label him being one. Additionally, Ethan condemns the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. And these are all attached with sources of what he's referencing. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of the first defamatory video where you state, quote, I think many of you can probably also help out with that. Most of you have smartphones and cameras and TikTok. So go ahead, start posting about it, spread the work. Aside from being a morally good thing to do, it's also becoming sustainable. You know, it's algorithmically viable. The Ethan Klein crash out industrial complex is booming. Isn't that fucking interesting? This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from these defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself. When your video entitled Manufacturing Consent for Genocide failed to receive many views, the one prior to the second video,
Ethan doesn't believe it's genocide. He continuously refers to it as a war. He's made arguments why Palestinians need to be kept out of Israel and why Jews need their own homeland. He blames Hamas for this happening. He might say every now and then, I don't support the genocide, but he talks about it as a war. So what do you want from me?
Particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video, you made the second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. What a fucking psychotic thing to say. Everybody go on and lie about Ethan everywhere, and you can make a pretty penny doing it. Nice one, dude.
Once again, he's defaming Noah Samsen, and Noah Samsen never said lie about Ethan. He said call out the lies that Ethan's made. Like every single time he opens his mouth about Noah Samsen, he's defaming him.
The second defamatory statement and the fifth defamatory statement. So now we're going to prove these wrong. The second defamatory statement, you do not disclose the factual basis for how Ethan engaged in every type of manufactured consent, with one exception, your false assertion that Ethan spread the Hamas rape hoax, which you expanded upon with the fifth defamatory statement, i.e. the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the UN report on sexual violence. The mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your defamatory video, you cite paragraph 84 and 86 from the UN report. First defamatory video, from the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. Quote, overall, based on the totality of information gathered from multiple and independent sources at the different locations, there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations across Gaza periphery, including in forms of rape, gang rape, during the 7th of October attacks. Credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including genital mutilation, sexualized torture, or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered. This, by the way, in the reports that Noah says that nothing happened, which is a continued talking point that I see by him, Hasan and Co. being like, oh, actually, that UN report completely exonerates Hamas. It's like, you're fucking lying, dude.
Yeah, I might want to like look into the Ryan Kavanaugh thing. Like if we're going to get more into the legal stuff, that'd be interesting. But I have no idea. I don't even know who Ryan Kavanaugh is. I thought he was a fucking Supreme Court judge at first. I'm like, wow, Ethan's really bringing this lawsuit to the top.
You're actually lying. And not only that, I mean, not only that, you're siding with terrorists over people who are genitally mutilated, sexually tortured, gang raped, and degraded by cruel treatment. You are throwing them aside to side with terrorists. In this case,
wait, what? What's he saying?
Sexually tortured, gang raped. I mean, not only that, you're siding with terrorists over people who are genitally mutilated, sexually.
Like he's like, you're siding with terrorists over, like, once again, this is fucking defamatory. Ethan's saying that Noah is siding with terrorists when Noah is simply calling out the lies that Ethan is saying on his show and in his videos. Let's just read. Let's just open our eyes and read. It says credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including, and then they list the different forms of sexual violence, was also gathered. So they're not saying that they found evidence of all of these forms of sexual violence. They were saying they had credible circumstantial information which could be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, right? They gathered credible circumstantial information which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence. That's what that sentence is saying. And Ethan takes that and he says, you are siding with terrorists against all of these people who were who experienced sexual violence and had their genitals mutilated. Like, that is simply lying about what Noah Samsen is doing, and it's also lying about what this UN report has said that it found.
Tortured, gang raped, and degraded by cruel treatment. You are throwing them aside to side with terrorists. In this case, Hamas.
Once again, he doesn't have names of anyone doing this because the reports haven't been finalized. This is an extremely preliminary report that literally calls for more investigations to be done because they couldn't have gathered all of the information to say anything conclusive.
That's fucking insane. It is. It has to be. Like, I think the collective online left has just completely lost its mind. I think it's just totally fucking rotten from the core. And I mean, this is just proof of it. Not only is Noah out here saying this shit, he's being propped up by everybody on Twitter. From Hasan has watched all of his videos in their entirety. He's dedicated hours of time watching Noah's videos. And George Janitis, the human STD, watching all of his videos. God, he really is a human STD. That's so good. George Janitis.
Guys, you know it's a good joke when you have to tell your friends it's a good joke.
I'd love to see George Janitis step foot outside of Argentina and see how fast he gets sued by like a dozen people.
But that's okay. None of them are as dedicated, as crazy, and as willing to waste money as I am. So Georgie boy thinks he's safe out there. But he's not. He's just never really come up against someone like me. I'll just be honest. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I have more money than them. I'm more dedicated than them. I've completely fucking thrown every...
I mean, he knows, like, he's admitting this is a frivolous lawsuit, right? He's literally saying, no, I'm wasting money. I'm wasting money doing this. I'm willing to waste money to basically get someone to take down their video about me. Or, like, at this point, it's not even to get someone to take down their video. It's just about making him feel good.
All these things are like, maybe it's not worth it. That's all gone. Maybe it's not worth it to spend $1 million pursuing some fucking human STD in Argentina. No, that's gone. See, that's gone. When you guys contributed...
Guys, I'm not in favor of violence, but I actually kind of want to see Ethan go through a training montage, challenge Bad Empanada to a boxing match or like an MMA fight, and then they have a fight in Argentina. That would be so fucking sick. If they like agree to just settle this in the cage, and then you get Ethan in like little fucking MMA shorts. He does like some ground about like Pat Empanada would go to Dagestan and get the Dagestani buff because he's got the beard.
To an atmosphere in which the CPS was called on my house. When you specifically, George, joked about calling the CPS. When you specifically, George, suggested I was lying about the CPS coming to my house. When you, George, specifically propagated this whole thing by saying that my kids were crawling around and eating shit, potentially eating shit.
Okay. I just wanted to like listen to Ethan read through this letter. I didn't want him to
himself
go on some kind of like reverie about how Bad Empanada has ruined his life. Holy shit, he really just went off. Okay. He doesn't really... All right, let's just like play him reading it a little bit
based
more.
on the totality. Oh yeah, so it continues. We were talking about that...
Oh, Maggie, I'm replaying what Ethan said. I'm live right now, though. Does he actually think he's being intimidating? He has no chance to actually win a single lawsuit he filed. Ethan just thinks I have more money than Noah Samsen, and thus I can like beat him in court by just spending money. He's just chugging Mountain Dew and ranting. All right, I just want to read like... I'm going to skip over the Bad Empanada part, but I just want to hear him read some of these things and see if I get any funny comments out of him.
So where were we? Overall, based on the totality. Oh yeah, so it continues. We were talking about that Noah says I perpetuate the mass rape hoax by misreporting what's in the UN report. The UN report, with regards to the hostages, the mission team found clear and convincing information that some hostages taken in Gaza have been subjected to various forms of conflict-related violence and has reasonable grounds to believe that such violence is ongoing. Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion that Hamas does not engage in mass rapes on October 7th. As the plain language of paragraph 86 states, the investigators could not determine the exact scope of the sexual violence because it would require a separate, more comprehensive investigation, not because there was no evidence. Once again, Noah and many others lie about this to whitewash Hamas's reputation, which again is like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. And I don't know why you think that. It's really quite a thing.
It's like, okay, you don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. Once again, I've addressed this before. It's like, yeah, you don't need to support Hamas to be pro-Palestinian, but you should understand what Hamas is. And once again, it is resisting an imperial genocidal power. That's what Hamas is. And I also like how Ethan says that if you try to push back against the narratives that like there is 100% verifiable evidence that mass rapes happened on October 7th, if you try to push against that, you are running defense for Hamas. It's like, why do you feel like you need to make the claim that mass rapes happened, Ethan? Why do you feel like you need to make that claim when there is not good enough evidence that that happened? Like, citing the UN report properly. Like, let's just listen to what Noah Samsen actually said about this. Let's just listen to this. Let's just search up UN reports. UN. Okay, that's UN blockade. Planned. Okay, here we go.
Directly, such as the UN report about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. He spreads long debunked Nakba denialist talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israeli colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rapes allegation.
There's a UN report that concludes it happened,
which the report itself denies. He spends 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just make this really clear. Ethan says there's a UN report that proves mass rape happened. Let's get a little bit I'm just gonna get really, really deep into this. UN report.
Who were in hiding
of the life as a hostage in Gaza.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
Hasan, maybe you would like to call her a liar. Please, go right ahead.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th.
There are dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it happen. And each week there's more stories.
So just right off the bat, I think, I don't have the context for this, but I think this person, giving the testimonial right now, was a witness to sexual violence happening underneath the control of Hamas as a hostage. I believe so.
Coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it. Dozens of testimonies from witnesses, most of who were in hiding and heard or saw it happen. And each week there's more stories coming out. There's a UN report that concludes it happened.
Doesn't matter.
But Hasan needs a rape kit from a mute.
So once again, Ethan is saying there's a UN report that mass rapes happened on October 7th because he is directly addressing Hasan, saying it doesn't matter if mass rapes happen on October 7th. That doesn't change the idea that genocide is bad. So Ethan is very clearly saying there is a UN report saying that mass rapes happened on October 7th. And Noah Samsen says it says the opposite, that it doesn't happen.
Debunked Nakba.
That there is no evidence that mass rapes happen on October 7th, or at least not
Palestine.
enough.
Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rapes allegation.
There's a UN report that concludes it happened,
which the report itself denies. He spends...
Yeah, so he says this report contradicts Ethan's claim, right, that mass rapes happen on October 7th. And then he says the report itself denies that this report proves mass rapes happened, which is literally true, okay? So I don't know where we were, but we just had to go down that little logic train.
Meanwhile, the Gazans are actually pro-palestinian, which again is you don't need to do that. You don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. And I don't know why you think that. It's really quite a thing. Meanwhile, the Gazans are actually protesting Hamas, and they're trying to fucking whitewash them. Isn't that incredible? The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. A comprehensive investigation would enable the information base to be expanded in locations which the mission team was not able to visit, and to build the required trust with survivors, victims of conflict-related sexual violence who may be reluctant to come forward at this point. And these people are calling them all liars. How about that, huh? Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory...
It's funny, it's call who liars? No one's came forward. People aren't calling people that have given their experience with sexual violence liars. No one's ever called them that. Ethan's wow, this UN report says that no one's came forward to talk about their experience with sexual violence. Hasan is calling all of them liars. No one even came forward.
Statement. You cite materials you claim support your assertion that the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the U.S. government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. The material you cited, however, only discusses conflict-related sexual violence in general and not October 7th. And it did not discuss Israel's action in Gaza whatsoever. By misrepresenting the factual basis of the second defamatory statement, particularly...
Holy shit. Once again, Ethan is changing the meaning of this report, which changed the meaning of Noah Samsen's video. Just read the words. Ethan says, and not October 7th. No, it says not just October 7th. That literally is the opposite of what you're saying.
Reviewing the UN report yourself, you knew the second defamatory statement was false. Third defamatory statement. Despite making the factual assertion that Ethan spreads, quote, overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies about Hezbollah, you do not identify a single piece of misinformation or falsehoods Ethan made about the organization. It's incredible. I went and I've watched the video, and there so many times he goes, Ethan has done this horrible thing, and then just moves on. with zero fucking support. Indeed, you do not address, let alone refute, the assertions made in the nuke that state: 1, Hezbollah engages in terrorism resulting in the deaths of thousands of civilians. 2, Hezbollah orchestrated the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. 3, Hezbollah hijacked airplanes. 4, Hezbollah fired 15,000 rockets in civilian areas. 5, Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. And 6, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah has made numerous anti-Semitic and genocidal statements against Jews. 7, Hezbollah initiated the most recent rounds of fighting on October 8th, not Israel, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced. All statements of fact, by the way, that he did zero effort to refute. He just says, I'm, quote, straight up lying with overt misinformation.
Bro, like, you literally, like, your lawyer is literally misrepresenting what you said in the content nuke to make your feelings better or whatever the fuck, or just lie on your behalf.
As to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. 1, recruiting child soldiers. 2, shelling civilians. 3, blocking aid to civilians. 4, ruining agricultural land with mines. 5, oppressing women and members of the LGBTQ community. 6, torturing and killing women. 7, performing Nazi salutes. 8, flag states death to Israel and curse upon the Jews. 9, captured the Galaxy Leader in international waters, not Yemeni waters, and the ship was not destined or traveling from Israel. And 10, took the crew of the Galaxy Leader who were not Israeli hostage. Did he attempt to interface with any of the factual assertions I made?
Also, what the hell? Like, I'm just looking this up right now, and it's like, from the 7th of October 2023 to the 20th of September 2024, there were 10,200 cross-border attacks, of which Israel launched 8,300. Over 96,000 people in Israel and over 111,000 in Lebanon have been displaced during this period. So saying that Hezbollah initiated the most recent round of fighting on October 8th, not Israel, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced, that 200,000 is including 111,000 Lebanese. Once again, their lawyer is literally just lying. Like, I need to write this down. I need to add this to my fucking falsehoods that they did. Like, I'm not even going to get into who started the attacks first because it's irrelevant and people are just going to lie and say that it was Israel. But, like, they say, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced, when they're including the 111,000 Lebanese people that were displaced, is insane. Like, to just change that number like that is so fucking dishonest. Materials you cited, they claim so lawyers said 200,000 Israelis were displaced. Lawyers said 200,000 Israelis were displaced when only 96,000 were displaced and 111,000 Lebanese were displaced. I mean, also, they fucking imply that Lebanon and Hezbollah was the major instigator in this violence when Israel's launched like 80% of the fucking missiles. Yeah, 10,200 cross-border attacks. Israel launched 8,300 of them. So literally, Hezbollah just launched 1,900 missiles. Fucking so dishonest. Like, I'm not, like, I know that people are like, oh, the lawyer is a Zionist, but yeah, they really know a lot of Zionist talking points and frame this in an extremely Zionist way.
No, of course not. He just accuses me of spreading overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies. Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the source relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article...
Voice crack. He's a beta.
Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the source relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article entitled Exclusive, Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen. One more time, I'll read that title for you. You attack the article entitled Exclusive, Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen, from Asark al-Awsat, English version. The article itself refers to receiving information from sources close to the group, several local reports, Yemeni activists, and members of the lawyer syndicate in Yemen, and a civilian who works for a pro-Houthi tribal leader in Sa'ada. Other than your blithe assertions that the article contains baseless claims from, quote, Saudi state propaganda outlets, you cite no evidence to refute the substance of the articles or the sources it's relied upon. Fucking checkmate. Try to spin that one, fucking you and your human STD friend. Try to spin that, bro. We wrote this letter specifically to be as dry and factually to the point as possible so that there was like no spin, no drama, no way to like just make like a slop drama video out of this. He's got to show what it says. And he's got to respond to it. I mean, he has to respond to us, legally speaking. Further, it is evident you did not even watch the Al Jazeera World documentary, Slavery in Yemen.
Well, I just want to like go back to this point really quick. Just what did Noah say for it? So the third defamatory statement, 4356.
Hoax. The same hoax that was used by the
your film about what happened.
Lies about Hezbollah and Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, in order to delegitimize their struggle against Israel's genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about Ansar.
Okay, so he just said it's a baseless claim by Saudi state propaganda outlets. Well, I mean, considering it's extremely hard to find any sources that back up that article, like, sure, you can say, like, there's no evidence that Noah knew that it had a basis and was purposely lying about it. Okay, whatever. I mean, the other thing is, like, this is pretty clearly a lie by Ethan and his lawyers.
Documentary focused on Yemen's overall culture of slavery and deposed government's denial of its existence. Moreover, it is highly misleading to claim it was issued before the Houthi takeover of Yemen, since the Houthis controlled part of Yemen as early as March 2011 with the Battle of Sa'ada. Further, the Al Jazeera documentary was released on September 10th, 2014, 6 days before the Battle of Sana'a, and 11 days before the Houthis prevailed on September 21st, 2014. Your blithe factual assertions that Ethan misrepresented information about Hezbollah and the Houthis, particularly after you watched the nuke, along with failing to disclose or misrepresent the factual basis of the third defamatory statement, demonstrates you knew it was false.
Like, how is Ethan actually believing in that? They're like, oh yeah, you said that this documentary came out before the Houthis got into power. However, this documentary actually came out 10 days before the Houthis got into power. Checkmate, liberal.
By the way, just because he says, I mean, here's some of the sources. Let's see, state.gov. Let's see, this is an independent report on slavery in Yemen. Independent.co, aljazeera.com. I don't know what you expect us to cite there, bud. And a Wikipedia article for, citing basic historical facts, which is completely acceptable. The fourth defamatory statement. For the fourth defamatory statement, you do not identify what Ethan said that denied the Nakba, how these points were debunked, and how these talking points legitimize Israeli colonization. Instead, you show a screenshot of Bad Empanada, a.k.a. George Janitis, the human STD, his video entitled Nakba Denier, Expulsion Liar, Content Nuke Destroyed, with the text debunked here by George Janitis, the human STD. So again, this is why we're forced to talk about you, is because Noah, in his infinite wisdom, and just obviously being an expert on the topic, he accuses me of Nakba denial that legitimizes Israeli occupation, and his proof is go watch George Janitis, human STD's video on it. Okay, that's what we did. That's how legal briefs work. And by the way, George, if you want to keep encouraging, what you're doing right now is like, you're trying to do misinformation, but the thing is, this is coming, whether you believe it or not, right? So you better talk to your boy Noah and set him straight, because you can fucking laugh about this all day being a ChatGPT generated and that it's just whatever, and I'm doing it, whatever it is you want to say, it's coming. And in 20 days, unless he retracts everything noted here, my boy is getting sued by 2 people for defamation in the state of California. It's coming, and you can't stop it. That's right. Enjoy. We're having fun, aren't we, Noah? Just like you promised. You are well aware that Bad Empanada exhibited tremendous bias against Ethan and is known for spreading misinformation and anti-Semitism. The Bad Empanada video exemplifies this point. The Bad Empanada video begins with him claiming Ethan Klein attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state by glossing over the Nakba. Bad Empanada's video at this time. This is completely false, and Bad Empanada fails to show any clip from the nuke supporting this assertion. Rather, in the clip cited, Bad Empanada, Ethan discusses 1, that Jews would not feel safe as an ethnic minority, and 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries, and 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba, and 4, there are hardly any Jews left in Arab countries. Bad Empanada, you do not attempt to address any of these factual assertions. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or expelled from Muslim-majority countries throughout Africa and Asia, primarily as a consequence of the establishment of the State of Israel. And the Nakba turned 700,000 Palestinians into refugees, which was mainly caused by Israeli arms. Next, Bad Empanada attempts to debunk the exodus of Jews from Morocco by arguing.
I mean,
Morocco,
once again,
this is when Rom gets...
Once again, it's like Ethan said, 1 million people were expelled from Arab states. He didn't say 900,000 people were displaced due to a variety of factors, like push and pull factors. I'm just going to skip through this. I want to just get to the Rashid Al-Haddad segment. Oh, so thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Hypercolor, thank you so much. Everyone thank Hypercolor. He is an MVP. Guys, what do you think if I made this live chat like members only for commenting? I mean, it's only $1, so I know a lot of people enjoy commenting and stuff, but it could reduce the amount of harassment and spam that random people showing up can really kind of derail the stream.
You knew this.
But it is only $1. So if you want your name to be in green, and if you want early access to videos, and potentially if I turn it into a members only live chat, consider signing up. Only $1.
6 defamatory statement was false. Noah actually says, I claim that the...
Okay, let's
somehow
rewind
there's
this
no
bit.
Jews left in any of these countries. The 6th defamatory statement. You completely failed to disclose the factual base of the 6th defamatory statement that Ethan labeled Al-Haddad as a terrorist was... So now we're talking about the Luffy, the Houthi Luffy. Labeled Al-Haddad as a terrorist with zero credible evidence. The nuke shows social media posts of Al-Haddad admitting to being a Houthi terrorist and echoes the...
Okay, so yeah, that is a typo. So many typos in this too.
Houthi genocidal rhetoric. Despite your knowledge of Al-Haddad's social media posts, you stated, quote, there was zero credible evidence, and that Al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. This demonstrates you knew the 6th defamatory statement was false. Noah actually says, I claimed that the Houthi Luffy was a terrorist with zero support. Like, bro, what the fuck reality are we living in? I dedicated quite a large swath of that video to showing that this guy's a terrorist. In conclusion, our clients demand you provide a retraction and correction of all the defamatory statements identified in this letter in compliance with California Civil Code Section.
Yeah, I guess I do like the non-sub, the gray names too. Okay, is there anything else that's interesting in this? Responding to Hasan. Let's listen to this.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for becoming a channel member, Mark Q or Mar Q. Blue-eyed Tatey. Thank you for becoming a channel member. I can finally feed my editors.
Good, man. Let's get more of that. Hasan he's called me a bad person with a dying career. He's joined the chorus of people saying I have a dying career. People have been saying that for 10 years. But I'm still standing. Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like AI wouldn't make typos though. I really do agree with the people that are saying these are just like underworked like legal aids or paralegals that aren't actually lawyers, and this seems like some kind of law school project where they're like, okay, now make sure that you hit this where you say the person's biased. Now make sure you say that he didn't actually use any factual information. And they're just like, oh, and you have a week to get it done. They're just like completely scrambling to get it done and just not really any kind of proofreading whatsoever.
Elton John, Dan.
I thought that was Mark Twain.
He didn't make music, okay?
Look, man, 17 months of ethnic cleansing. If you're still justifying bombing hospitals with fucking fake bullshit that Israel never provided evidence for, you're a monster. You're not a good person.
Yeah, I agree. Who's doing that? Someone doing that? Who's in the room? Who's justifying bombing hospitals?
Person.
Did
they not play the clip where Ethan said Hamas has bases, like has military bases underneath hospitals? Because that was what the clip was that Hasan was responding to. Like, if you say Hamas has military bases underneath hospitals and Israel is bombing Gaza because of Hamas, then you are justifying the bombing of hospitals. Like, once again, let's just like really quick find this. Ethan says Hamas under hospitals. Ethan Klein repeats claim of Hamas center under hospitals. And this is the clip where Hasan was responding to.
I feel like this is a force that's going to help end the war, not fucking keeping hostages and underground and like sending, just continuing to provoke Israel to attack them and putting fucking like military complexes under.
So he's literally saying Hamas is being underground and that's provoking Israel to continue to attack them.
I feel like this is a force that's going to help end the war, not fucking keeping hostages and underground and like
continuing to provoke Israel.
Keeping hostages underground, continuing to provoke Israel
to attack them. And putting fucking like military complexes under hospitals.
Putting military complexes under hospitals. All three of these are provoking Israel. That keeping hostages, putting military complexes under hospitals, that's prolonging the war. That's provoking Israel to bomb them.
You know, Hamas's design from the beginning is to get as many people killed as possible. Think about it this way. Hamas, Hasan wasn't there as far as I know. He was not live on October 7th, though, curiously.
Shut up.
Okay, fair enough. Just kidding. So Hamas, they launched this attack against Israel on October 7th. They kill 1,000 civilians. Barbaric, just crazy. They mow down a bunch of kids at a fucking...
I mean, bro, just once again, it's like, are you... listen, Ethan says, oh, you don't need to deny rapes to defend Hamas, but then this is the fucking shit you get where you're like, it's not enough to say that Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis. You have to say, oh yeah, they just mowed down kids, they put people in ovens, they ripped fetuses out of pregnant women, they did mass gang rapes.
In concert. Now, any fucking one in the world with zero political knowledge, what do you think is going to be the response to that? What do you think is going to happen? What is Israel going to do after being like being the victim of the worst terrorist attack, a country that's constantly under terrorist attacks, the worst in their history? I mean, and also a government that's known for being, you know, monstrous, barbaric, fucking genocidal and willing and just like homicidal too. What do you expect from that?
So this is such cognitive dissonance from Ethan here. He's saying Hamas provoked this genocidal government to genocide them. You are describing the Israeli government as genocidal, and yet you still have to put the agency on Hamas for causing the genocide. That's what he's doing. He's like, yeah, I know that my government is so genocidal, but I mean, you gave them the perfect excuse to genocide you. So, I mean, you're actually to blame for the genocide. That's fucking insane to do. All right, let's continue playing this.
That they're going to bomb the shit out of Gaza, right? Out of Hamas. That's like the only outcome of that. The only outcome. And when do you see like people like Hasan and Noah Samsen and all these leftist people, like, not just them though too, like the media, and rightfully so, right? Like, when do you see them galvanized? When civilians die. It's literally all they have. When civilians fucking get murdered in Gaza, that's a dub for Hamas because it raises it creates more pressure on Israel from the outside forces. He's got more people talking.
That's so crazy, bro. He's literally saying Hamas is orchestrating the genocide to make Israel look bad. That's crazy. Holy shit, this guy's so fucked in the head. Oh, I'm not justifying the bombing of these military complexes. I'm not justifying the bombing of hospitals by Israel. But what I am saying is that Hamas purposely put their military complexes underneath hospitals so that when Israel carries out the genocide, they're going to make Israel look as bad as possible. Where is he going with this? He's saying that Israel is a genocidal country. They're a genocidal country. Ethan literally just said that. Well, I guess maybe the government is genocidal. The government of Israel is genocidal. So the government of Israel is genocidal, but Hamas is encouraging genocide to happen because when Palestinians get genocided, it makes Israel look bad. but it's actually all Hamas's fault. like let's just compare this to a very obvious case of where victims always get blamed. A woman is wearing a slutty outfit and she goes up to like a guy or a group of friends that they're rapists and they love to rape women, and everyone knows that they're rapey guys. But, you know, she just wants to make the guys look bad. So she's purposely dressing as provocative as possible so that these group of rapists are going to want to rape her, and then she can post on social media, I got raped by a group of guys. And Ethan would look at her and be, well, I mean, you did every action possible to get raped, like, because you know that the more you get sexually violated, the worse it's going to make these other guys look. So, I mean, you got to stop dressing like that. You got to stop acting so provocatively towards these guys. Like, insane victim blaming stuff.
On Israel from the outside forces. He's got more people talking, more people outraged. It is both Israel is blowing up buildings and killing a ton of innocent people. But people who pretend that Hamas is anything but a fucking barbaric terrorist group that intentionally kills its own people for political gain is lying to themselves, dude. Holy shit. They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals. That's not even debated.
Okay, so Ethan just said Hamas puts complexes under hospitals to kill their own people on purpose. That's what Ethan just said. That implies the bombing of hospitals is justified. That literally, that implies the bombing of hospitals is justified because Hamas puts military complexes underneath hospitals, knowing that Israel's going to have to bomb the hospitals to get to the Hamas complexes that are underneath them. So he's literally justifying it. He's like, well, I mean, it's not good that Israel bombs them, but it's actually Hamas to blame because they were the ones that put the military complexes. It's just so fucking crazy. And now he's like, oh, who's advocating for the bombing of hospitals?
Like, he goes, well, I'm Lebanese. I'm telling you, you're a disappointment to our people.
He's defending Mike.
Yeah, he's defending Mike, which the irony of I'm going against my people. Again, he can criticize me all he wants, but to do it in this thread where I'm calling out a white guy for speaking about my people,
he's okay with
he
that.
sides with the white person.
He's not even like I agree with Mike, but it's like I'm okay with the concept of a white dude speaking on behalf of the Arab population.
The irony fucking kills me.
Yeah, good man. Let's get more of that. Hasan he's called me a bad person with a dying career. He's joined the chorus of people saying I have a dying career. People have been saying that for 10 years. But I'm still standing. Ooh. Elton John, Dan.
I thought that was Mark Twain.
He didn't make music, okay?
Look, man, 17 months of ethnic cleansing. If you're still justifying bombing hospitals with fucking fake bullshit that Israel never provided evidence for, you're a monster. You're not a good person.
Yeah, I agree. Who's doing that? Someone doing that? Who's in the room? Who's just...
I mean, bro, he's just lost. He's completely... he's just completely, like, experiencing cognitive dissonance. He's like, yeah, I mean, Israel needs to bomb hospitals to get to the Hamas complexes underneath them. And it's actually the way Hamas fights because they know that every Palestinian Israel kills is a PR dub for them. And it's like, and then when Hasan says, wow, if you're justifying the bombing of hospitals at this point, you're like so far gone. And Ethan's like, who's doing that? It's like the fucking Eric Andre meme where he shoots Hannibal and he's like, who killed Hannibal? But yeah, his brain is actually just fried.
Justifying bombing hospitals. Will you please stand up?
You are a fucking bad person, okay? It's not about debates. It's not about beef. It's not about fucking drama. It's not about your dying career. Okay.
Come on, bro. That's just stupid. You're just being a silly dummy here. Come on. I get the same numbers as you do. You know what I mean? Like, man, what are we doing? Come on. Dying career. By the way, if you want to talk dying career, this dude was down to like 10,000 live viewers before October 7th. Fucking whoopee. This guy's profiting from more than the industrial complex.
Holy shit. The fucking insane to say. Hasan's viewer, let's just look this up. Viewership Oct 7. I mean, Hasan, I don't know if we can actually find... Okay, let's look at the Twitch stats. Can we find like his viewership by date? So this is 2023, October 7th, 2023. And what is this? Oh, this is followers? Peak viewers, average CCV. So this was like right after October 7th, right here. And it was, so during the week of October 7th, we'll just say 272 million total hours. And in the months after following October 7th, or I guess his average viewers dropped, right? Because it was in October 7th, it was 22,000 average viewers, then 30,000 the week of October 7th, 34,000 the week after October 7th, and then it dropped to 26,000, 24,000, 21,000, 22,000, 19,000. So yeah, his average viewers declined a lot after October 7th, and he had just started picking up again in July 2024. So about like, what would that be? Like 8-10 months later. So his viewership was 34,000 on October 7th and then dropped a lot. So I guess like before October 7th, it was like 2023 around there. So anyway, when Ethan says like after October 7th, his viewership went up, it's like not really. Kind of peaked at around that time and then it went down. And then it went up, back up slowly. But yeah, just once again, like another lie.
He's got his own Raytheon going on there. Call Hasan Raytheon, because this man is profiting from the war more than anyone.
Okay? You're just a bad person. Not only are you a bad person, but you're actively also deluding your fucking fans, who are not bad people themselves.
I plead to the audience, please, guys, please free yourself.
But simply deluded and misguided stands into agreeing with bad positions. You are using the remainder of your influence that you have.
Come on, dude. I'm Ethan Klein. Come on, bro. Do you... Excuse me, aren't you the guy that was begging me for a fucking collab on Young Turks like 10 years ago before you even... when you got your Nepo job? Excuse me. Show some respect. Kiss the ring, you fuck. You're only relevant today because I fucking did a show with you. Literally created him.
I don't think that's really true at all.
I created him.
I don't think
along
so.
with Destiny. I know it hurts to hear. Destiny
you created
him.
Destiny?
No, No, Destiny created Hasan.
He
made Hasan and I gave him some flute. I don't know. Basically, I'm cooler. I'm cooler.
I'm not so sure about that one.
Bro, I'm Ethan Klein.
For better or worse.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Like, this is embarrassing for Ethan. Just trying to say, oh, I made Hasan, and his own producer step in and they're like, no, you didn't. And he's like, I'm cooler. Kiss the ring. I'm Ethan Klein.
Over an increasingly smaller audience to, you know, fill their heads chock full of misinformation at the behest of establishing a defensive posture for a genocidal apartheid state. It's fucking awful.
Mm-hmm.
That can't feel good. Deep down inside, there has to be a dude that I met, that I knew, that's going, oh, don't do this. This is maybe a bridge too far. Like, you cannot be this fucking deluded.
Sorry, bro. When that CPS showed up, there's no bridge I won't burn. And I'm burning it.
This is just straightforward Nazi shit, dude.
Oh, bro, I'm sorry. Calling a Jewish dude a Nazi needs to be understood as what it is. It's a straight up anti-Semitic Holocaust inversion attack. Like calling me a Nazi, even if I'm pro-Israel, let's say, despite my many statements to the contrary, calling a Jewish guy a Nazi.
I mean, you literally just defended your Israel's government from doing genocide, even though you said they're genocidal, but actually, like, Hamas should know they're genocidal, so they should take that into account in their actions.
In this way, it's just anti-Semitism. There's no fucking way to cut it, man. What a scumbag.
It's anti-Semitism. It's anti-Semitic if you say I'm a Nazi, even though I'm like letting I'm describing the way that Hamas is responsible for this genocide, and actually Israel's just innocent in carrying it out. Guys, you don't understand. Hamas is making Israel genocide the Palestinians because every time a Palestinian dies, that's good for Hamas.
Step removed from Lebensraum.
I mean, what the fuck are we doing here? Lebensraum was the German doctrine that they wanted to remove Russia, a swath of Russia, for German living space. That's me. That's fucking insane. I mean, like, again, that's like, I feel like you shouldn't be able to say stuff like this without repercussions. And actually, let me take a note here real fast.
SS on Pike KKK.
Hasan Accord with the terrorists, not Palestinians. Hasan's only coverage of this was to discredit the protesters. Never forget. I mean, by now we all know what's happening there. I don't need to read the headline. But here's what Hasan has been saying about the protesters. First, here's the video he posted on that day. Are the protests in Gaza about Hamas or Israel? As the brave Gazans who protest their tyrannical government are methodically murdered by Hamas and tortured and disappearing.
Literally, that's literally not true. I mean, last Wednesday or Thursday, I went through this, and there have been no accounts of Hamas killing protesters. So yeah, that's literally not true. Ethan just made that up.
The propagandist does his part to run.
I mean, they've killed people in the past and tortured people in the past, but they said there were no reports of Hamas killing people.
Defense for the terrorists. This is from today. And again, like, what do you lose by supporting the protesters? Why do you need to defend Hamas to be pro-Palestine? At every turn, it's just
once again, Ethan's like, why can't you accept my view of reality? And the answer is because you have a misinformed view of reality. You're not getting to the truth. And it's everything that Ethan does when it comes to Israel is skewed by his desire to support Israel and to say that it's like a moral state. So yeah, Israel, like, he's just lying in favor of defending Israel in all instances.
Defend Hamas, whitewash for Hamas. You don't catch me doing that at all for Israel. Continue.
So I watched his video, the clip of it. He did say that it was more than just protesting Hamas. But at one point in the video, he does say he's not going to condemn the protesters who went against Hamas. He said that's
so brave.
That makes sense.
I'm not even saying he condemns them. He's downplaying them. He's reducing their struggle to a Jewish conspiracy. I don't think he condemns them. I just think,
oh my God, bro, like, this is so harmful. When Ethan Klein insists that any kind of criticism of Israel is a Jewish conspiracy, that is really just, that's like spreading anti-Semitism, man. Like, when you say there's no difference between Hasan saying there are some anti-Hamas elements in these protests, but first and foremost are against Israel, like, Ethan is saying that's a Jewish conspiracy. When you say there's no difference between that and Candace Owens saying that Jews control our country and that's why the United States is so supportive of Israel, you are just spreading anti-Semitism. You're spreading anti-Semitism. Like, he's basically saying there's no criticism of Israel that isn't anti-Semitic. So then when people look at what's happening on the news and they're just like, oh, Israel's completely slaughtering Palestinians and they've gone way too far. Like, even if people say that, you know, they should have bombed Hamas and they needed to prove that they have strength, they should take them out. Even those people are now like, it's gone, it's too far. They're starving out the entire population. That's too much. And then Ethan says, oh, you're criticizing Israel. If you say that these protests are against Israel, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory or like an anti-Jew conspiracy theory. People are just gonna be like, oh shit, like, all right, then I guess the Jews are fucked. Like, if all the Jews support Israel, then fuck the Jews. Why would they not think that? That's so harmful to say. Oh my God. It's actually fucking ridiculous that Ethan says protest movements that are clearly against Israel. As Ethan says himself, Israel's causing the genocide. But, I mean, obviously he doesn't believe that. That's an anti-Jew conspiracy. That's a Jewish conspiracy theory that Hasan is repeating. And it's anti-Semitic to call Jewish people Nazis? Give me a fucking break.
I think that, like, he's twisting the situation. I'll show you what he said.
I feel like everyone's twisting the situation, and that's why it's so infuriating.
Yeah, and then AB even gets out there and he's like, I think everyone's twisting it, implying that Israel is twisting it too. Let's see if Ethan calls him out for that.
I mean, listen.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Listen, there's people in Gaza that are protesting Hamas. That's the story.
No, it's not. The story is that protests are happening. Mainly, they're against Israel, and there are some protests that are against Hamas too. But saying that the story is that people are protesting Hamas is a lie. That's a lie. That's Israeli propaganda.
Yeah, but I've just been seeing also like people using this now for the first time to talk about the genocide that's going on, and people are saying that, look, this is what we've been saying all along. It's Hamas, which I agree with, but like, yeah, that's what people have been saying forever, is that the people are different from the organization running the area. So if now all these outlets who are now talking about this, they accept that, do they also accept that it's not fair to like bomb them indiscriminately? Because some of the shit I was seeing was insane. I completely agree. They were protesting Hamas, but I was also seeing people saying stuff like, "Oh, they're also protesting Al Jazeera being there," and they're just sprinkling.
Is this Twitter stuff? Because is this Twitter stuff? Where you read this kind of stuff?
I just was watching all the mainstream
coverage
outlets about it.
Okay.
Yeah, like across the world, Australia, everywhere, talking about. It breaks my
You're
heart.
right.
Because
You're right. People on both
have,
sides. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a voice. And I'm not. I'm completely condemn Hamas. I agree. I think they were protesting Hamas. I heard that it started as something else and then spontaneously formed into that, and that Hamas took the leader and tortured him,
killed him, disappeared him. Also, I've heard this gone violent where the protesters are now.
All right, let's just look that up. Hamas took the leader of the protests and disappeared them. Hamas disappears leader of protest. Protests broke out against Hamas. Who is Mahmoud Khalil? Holy shit, dude. This is fucking hilarious. I search Hamas disappears leader of protest. The second fucking thing is about Mahmoud Khalil getting disappeared. Holy shit. Literally, in trying to find supporting evidence of Ethan's claim that Hamas is like this brutal authoritarian dictatorial group, the second result is about the United States disappearing people. Okay, Hamas tortures protester to death and leaves body on blank. Okay, let's just look at Yahoo News. Hamas tortures protester to death and leaves body on family's doorstep. Hamas has been accused of beating a man to death and leaving him on the family's doorstep in a warning against any further protests against its rule on the Gaza Strip. The terror group has been the subject of rare public demonstrations against it. Earlier this week, anti-Hamas chants were heard during a wider protest. Uday al-Rabai was kidnapped shortly after participating in the protest. He was returned dead and bloody to his family's home days later. Mazen shot a senior police officer affiliated with Fatah, the Palestinian nationalist group that lost control of Gaza and after a brief war with Hamas, told the Telegraph. Uday was martyred by the criminals of Hamas, and what's his crime? He told the truth because he refused to be silent on injustice, because he did not kneel to Hamas. Mr. Shot said Hamas had tortured the young man for hours. Okay, well, that's horrible. What was I reading? I wanted to read this because this was about the Hamas protests, and they said that Hamas dismantle his dissent. I mean, in this AP article, it says there are no confirmed reports of anyone being killed for taking part in the latest protests. So what was this other thing? Hamas tortured Uday al-Rabai. The Telegraph, Hamas beats protester to death and leave him on doorstep. And the New York Post, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know, like all of these seem kind of sketchy, but I guess there's one person that was, but I mean, this guy isn't the leader of the protest, so. All right, we can assume that Hamas killed one person, which is definitely sketchy, but Ethan Klein and AB are just lying when they say the leader of the protest was captured and deported. Maybe they were talking about Mahmoud Khalil. Maybe they're talking about him.
The leader and tortured him.
Killed him, disappeared him. Also, I've heard this gone violent where the protesters are now, they're killing Hamas people who are responsible for for murdering and kidnapping protesters.
Yeah, I mean, these people are desperate. There's, and again, I'm complaining about being a chess piece. It's like these people are used, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are going to regret jumping on like some outlets, like the extreme right outlets, are going to regret right away saying that this was completely Hamas. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that because now you have acknowledged that the people are protesting. So now there's proof of you understanding that difference. So any other action, you can't just hide behind Hamas was here, so we did this. Hamas was there, so.
There are multiple sources for these desperate people suffering, and I think that recognizing both is, I don't see a problem there. It's a very complicated issue.
Acknowledging it's complicated is kind of enough to be called genocide supporter these days. Not that you're not. I'm just saying.
No,
there's
I mean,
fucking,
on the opposite.
Okay, but anyway.
Hamas's fault that Israel's bombing them. Now, this is also being egged on by the Israeli command, for the record. Like the Israeli military, here, I have it from right here. This is important to understand. The protests against Hamas are being ordered by the Israeli military. They're not ordered. I wouldn't say they're ordered by the Israeli military. I don't fully agree with the statement from Zionism Observer, even though I believe...
Zionism Observer. I'm sure that's a really partial, great representative source.
Zionism Observer is a formative archiver of war crimes that I'm pretty sure international human rights groups are using as well. They primarily focus on archiving the war crimes that Israeli occupying force soldiers themselves post on the timeline. The Defense Minister Katz, who so far does not have an IC arrest warrant, told Palestinians in Gaza they will lose their homes and more land if they don't join the protest. Here is Emmanuel Manny Fabian. He is the IDF military correspondent for the Think Times of Israel. He says, Defense Minister Israel Katz warns Palestinians in Gaza the military will soon operate in additional areas of the Strip, telling them to learn from the civilians in Beit Lahia who have been. It is shown that Hamas is...
Yeah, I mean, listen, the IDF is... It's advantageous to the IDF that they're protesting. So, of course, they'll be like, let's encourage that. I mean, that's obvious, right? Doesn't mean that they're doing it because of Israel. Just kind of psychotic, weird Jewish conspiracy shit.
Why would they not be doing it because of Israel? Israel's literally starving everyone in Gaza. Well, that's a psychotic Jewish conspiracy if you point that out.
More popular in the West Bank in the eyes of the Palestinians.
Oh, this is great. According to Hasan, Gazans are too stupid to know that Hamas is bad. Listen to this.
In the West Bank than they are in Gaza. There needs to be a reason for this. Is more popular in the West Bank in the eyes of the Palestinians in the West Bank than they are in Gaza. There needs to be a reason for that.
Okay, so Hamas is more popular in the West Bank, a place that's not ruled by Hamas, that they watch from afar. In Gaza, where Hamas rules, they're less popular. Now, why do you think that might be? You know, what's the obvious answer, right? That they're terrible, that they're fucking evil and terrible. Pretty much, I think, probably.
The reason is because, of course, people attribute the crimes of Israel in terms of like famine or in terms of the horrible conditions to administrative failures of Hamas.
So his point is that Gazans hate Hamas because of Israel? Like they can't tell the difference between like, they don't know the difference. Like, oh, there's administrative challenges because Israel's attacking us, right? He's saying, so that's why they hate Hamas. Versus like them being like cruel.
God, he's so fucking stupid. That's what everyone does, dude. Everyone, like, bro, people look at gas and they're like, thanks, Joe Biden. Gas is so expensive. And then they're gonna vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, people just blame problems in their everyday lives on the government. It's a pretty fair point for Hasan to make. And Ethan's like, that's bigotry of low expectations. That's how the world works, dude.
Cruel, despot, violent rulers. Like he doesn't think that people in Gaza can tell the difference.
Yeah, well, they blame Hamas for October 7 and everything that followed up, all the devastation that they've been going through, essentially.
Right.
No.
Yeah. It's like, again, he's just whitewashing for Hamas at every corner. And
that's literally what Hasan is saying. What the fuck? Oh God, Ethan's so stupid. Hasan says they attribute to Hamas the devastation they've been going through because of Israel. Ethan says, no, they just don't like Hamas because they're like dictatorial. Then AB says they attribute to Hamas everything they've experienced after October 7th. And Ethan says, yes, that's quite literally what Hasan just said. Oh my God, he's so dumb.
It's like, dude, you don't have to do that.
Conditions to administrative failures of Hamas as a political operative.
Oh yeah, this is unrelated, but this was nuts, man. This was on the server. This man discovers the name of his family members who lost their lives during Holocaust in Auschwitz. Unrelated to Israel, Palestine, Zionism, anything. It's just a dude seeing his family's name on a wall of those who were murdered by Nazis. And then these are all the comments. Imagine crying for someone you never knew. Crocodile tears. Nice try, Diddy. Well done, comment section.
What does that mean? Nice try, Diddy. Okay.
I'd be crying too. Imagine being a Jew. Deserved button. Like Germany button. Victim card. Imagine the list of Palestinians. Top 5. I mean, it's just every comment.
I love how he's like, deserved card is the same as imagine the list of Palestinians. So saying the Jews deserved the Holocaust is now saying imagine the list of Palestinians. That's the same in Ethan's mind. So being pro-Palestine and comparing the genocide in Palestine to the genocide in Nazi Germany is the same as saying the Jews deserved to get genocide in Nazi Germany. I mean, we all know that Ethan believes the Palestinians deserve the genocide, so I guess that's why he takes such offense to it being compared to the Holocaust, because he says if you compare the Palestinian genocide to the Holocaust, you're implying that the Jews deserve to get holocausted because obviously the Palestinians deserve what's happening to them by Israel. So that's like what's happening in Ethan's mind.
It's like, wow, that's crazy, dude. Wood doors, they love that one. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man.
I've just been seeing more and more of that shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is the norm now on social media. This is the norm, you know. The guy, he's just sitting there, fucking mourning the loss of his family. It's got nothing to do with politics. The comments are giving me hope.
That's crazy.
I'm waiting for the next slide. There's another thing afterwards. Paid actor. And then, oh, this is the guy who Hamas accused of abduction, torture, and murdering of Gaza dissident. Yeah, I don't know if Hasan mentioned him. I tagged him just so he's aware of. So there's that. This, can you guys explain this take to me? I found this very bizarre.
Goblin. The difference here is that there is a project here. There's an ideological project here, and I think a lot of people get it, and some people don't. So they just have like a stupid perspective on it, and they go, oh, "You're a clout goblin." Yeah, sure, okay. The question I have for you is that if all I cared about was clout, why the fuck would I talk about Israel all the goddamn time? Are you stupid?
I mean, that literally revived your fucking career. Like, you are actually getting 10,000 live viewers before Gaza. Like, even trying to deny that it hasn't been helpful for his career is just weird. Just be like, yeah, I benefited from it, but no, he's not really doing anything for the Palestinians. You'd be donating a lot of money that he's earning.
Stupid. Like, especially in the way that I talk about it, where I also don't even entertain a second of anti-Semitic commentary on the subject matter. If I wanted clout and I had an anti-Israel position, you bet your fucking ass, if all I gave a shit about was clout and not like presenting my vision for the world, I would be anti-Semitic as fuck. Look at all the top.
What does he mean by that? Is if I wanted clout, if I wanted to be more famous, I'd be anti-Semitic as fuck? I mean, he continues.
I guess he's
I don't know. At some point, it's like this man runs a podcast and he can't understand basic sentence structures. Hasan's like, if I wanted clout, I would be anti-Semitic. Ethan's like, what is this? What are these strange words? This is a language I've never heard before. What does this mean? It's like, I'm going to have to get my linguistic experts to start deciphering this and see if we can get to the bottom of it. What could Hasan possibly mean when he says, if I wanted clout, I would be anti-Semitic? What are you talking? What do you mean you don't understand what he means by that? Holy shit.
Probably referring to people like Candace Owens, who have kind of jumped on the pro-Palestinian train as a way to like revive her career, which has been very successful.
That's true. She's killing it.
Candace Dan Blazarian. He was talking about
another good example. No, I don't think that. I think I understand what he's saying.
He's talking about the Daily Wire and how they're falling out, and how
I called that. Okay, I get it.
Literally every single person in the room is like, okay, I know exactly what he's talking about. And then Ethan's like, okay, I get it. Okay, we just gotta run that back. That was so funny. What are these words?
Commentary on the subject matter. If I wanted clout and I had an anti-Israel position, you bet your fucking ass, if all I gave a shit about was clout and not like presenting my vision for the world, I would be anti-Semitic as fuck. Look at all the top.
What does he mean by that? Is if I wanted clout, if I wanted to be more famous, I'd be anti-Semitic as fuck? I mean, he continues.
I guess he's probably referring to people like Candace Owens, who have kind of jumped on the pro-Palestinian train as a way to like revive her career, which has been very successful.
That's true. She's killing it.
Candace Dan Blazarian. He was talking
Dan
about
Blazarian's probably another good example. No, I don't think that. I think I understand what he's saying.
He's talking about the Daily Wire and how they're falling out, and how
I called that. Okay, I get it. I called that Daily Wire. Man, I'm so prophetic. I wish people would just listen to me.
You say you're so pathetic.
I'm so prophetic. That's me saying kiss the ring.
Oh, don't worry, I got it.
I say.
Anti-Israel commentators that get so much motion on the matter. It is quite literally uninterrupted full blown the Jews are responsible.
Okay, I mean, listen, I personally
He's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's right actually about like I forgot how popular Candace Owen was.
She's like number 3 biggest podcast in the world or something now.
Yeah, no wonder the Instagram comments
are like crazy.
Like I was thinking of people like Nick Fuentes, who's not popular or he's very niche, and then who's that other psycho? He's like the libertarian communist or something. Jack.
Oh, that guy, Hinkle or something
who's
like
also
that.
not really that popular.
He's a MAGA communist.
Yeah,
actually,
MAGA.
He's a MAGA communist. Yeah.
But okay, Hasan's a champion of the Jewish people.
Wait, what were you saying I should make into a shirt? SMH. Well, I'm like, what is Ethan trying to say here? He's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess there is a difference between Hasan and anti-Semitic pro-Palestinian content creators. So then Hasan's not anti-Semitic. But then Ethan can't bring himself to say Hasan's not anti-Semitic. So he just says, oh, I guess Hasan's a champion of the Jewish people now. It's so gross. Oh, like just Ethan quotes? Nah, dude. Ethan's too fucking stupid to be wearing what he says on a piece of clothing.
Yes, yeah.
But okay, Hasan's a champion of the Jewish people.
Before it. Either I would.
It's like, yes, he literally is, dude. Yeah. When Israel insists on claiming that all Jews are represented by their fascist actions, and then you have conservatives that are saying that all Jews are like representative by Israel's actions, and you have you basically saying, no, Israel's government is genocidal, but the Jews within Israel aren't genocidal, when literally like the vast majority of Israelis support what the IOF is doing inside of Gaza. And they support ethnic cleansing, and then you say, actually, the Jews do need to have an ethno-state because Arab countries were mean to us. Yeah, Hasan is doing a better job of describing Jewish positions in all of these circumstances than you and Candace Owens is. So fuck off with this facetious, oh, Hasan's just a champion of the Jewish people.
Never mention Israel, or never mention any politics whatsoever, and just simply talk about like, other shit, have fun,
By the way, when he streamed video games, he had like 12,000 live viewers. Just saying.
Well, people don't watch Hasan for his gaming ability.
Well, of course. Right. But he's saying I would just have fun if I wanted clout. It's like, no, you wouldn't. That's not even consistent with the facts.
And do like silly content.
I love Ethan's insistence that Hasan is audience captured, and that's why he's never actually like finished that thought. But he will consistently say that Hasan is audience captured, but then he'll also criticize Hasan for like losing his audience and being mean to his audience and holding his audience captive himself. It's like, okay, Ethan just has nothing. He's just throwing anything he can get his hands on against Hasan.
But okay, fair enough, sure. You can always be more anti-Semitic. He's right.
Oh, so now he can be more
there's always the next
anti-Semitic.
Hasan. Okay, now this is fun. You guys are gonna love this. Hasan, we've talked about his merch. I've wondered like how the fuck does he make it American made for $35? It doesn't make any sense. So the people that make the shirt and the design, or not the design, the people that make the shirt and print on it is a U.S. union. Okay, but who's making the art here?
This is done deliberately. The trigger lives. The right is alting and it's working. I mean, I'm not triggered by it. I'm just disgusted by it. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't care if you're making fucking AI art, dude. I don't care. Like, congratulations. You're killing it. Okay. I'm glad that you did an input.
Okay. I mean, we have Hasan's merch, general show updates, and donos. I think we're done with this episode. So people are saying Hasan's merch is like AI generated, which I don't know, kind of does look like it's AI. I think it looks ugly, honestly. You should get me to do art for him. But at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. As I said before, Ethan is just like willing to grab anything he can get his hands on to throw at Hasan. And it's like really dumb shit like this. Who's making your art, Ethan? Who owns it? I mean, look, the message aside, I don't think the art looks particularly appealing on Hasan's merchandise. But then again, I would 100% wear something off of Hasan's store than the Teddy Fresh store just for aesthetics alone, like not even taking into consideration who it supports and stuff like that. Yuba, would be awesome if you did the art. Yeah, it would be something that I would actually have to like put effort into and not just shitty sketches. Like, let's be honest, this art is kind of shitty. And this does look like AI. I'm not gonna lie. So Ethan has a point here. Canadians have been saying AI for years. Hey! All right, guys. I've been going for about 3.5 hours, and I got through what I wanted to get through, which was this letter. Yeah, it's so comical to me, and I really don't think there's... And oh, you know what? Okay, before we wrap this up, I did want to listen to this, and this is very short, so I'm just gonna play this.
Israel is currently enacting its final solution on the Palestinian people in Gaza. After numerous ceasefire violations on March 18th, Israel finally unilaterally ended it with a record-breaking child-killing massacre. Since then, Israel has killed over 1,000 Palestinian people. It has bombed schools, shelters, medical clinics, residential buildings, and water treatment plants. Israel is summarily executing paramedics, decapitating babies, and destroying everything in its wake. Israel is also once again invading Gaza and establishing mass killing fields. All of these crimes are being committed with weapons from the United States, impunity from the international community, and silence from the Western media. There's no end in sight, and things are only set to get worse unless people do something to stop it. There's a protest tomorrow, Saturday, April 5th, at the White House. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Pennsylvania and 3rd Street, which is right here, right outside the White House. It's pretty hard to miss. This protest has been endorsed by over 200 organizations across the United States, and it's supposed to be huge. If you live nearby, show up. There are a bunch of buses available from all sorts of cities, and many of them still have seats. If the buses in your area are full or unavailable, you can sign up to drive your own vehicle and bring others with you. If you do have a vehicle and are able to drive it and have room, please do that. I live across the country, but last minute decided to fly so I can be there tomorrow in hopes that this might encourage some of you to join. Go to marchforpalestine.org/bus or click the link in the description.
Wait a second. I thought Noah Samsen was calling for violence. So yeah, those protests happened, and they had a lot of people coming out to them, and this is going to be something I'm going to be talking about later this week. But not that many pro-Palestinian like energy out there. But I do want to end it off with this. Let's actually just go to Hasan's website or his YouTube channel. Oh yeah, I spoke at the Palestine rally in DC. That's what I wanted to find. But let me know, like, I'm gonna play this and then we'll wrap it up.
Matters. Now, I've spoken on this matter every single day, as have you. So we've said everything that must be said 1,000,000 times over.
Oh, hey, Do Not Worry podcast. How's it going? Yeah, we need to communicate better. Let's finally do that collab. If this is a good time for you, we got to do it. I'm about to end stream now, but send me a message on Discord and let's do it this week. So happy that you caught the stream. Yeah, I need to find this entire thing. I'm gonna end this stream just playing Hasan's remarks, and then we're gonna call it off. But yeah, we actually have to talk because this Ethan Kelin shit is so fucking funny.
So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, also because I didn't really prepare for a speech, I'm sorry. What I want to say is this. Right now, this Trump administration has severely escalated the erosion of civil liberties for all Americans. Every single one of us. You have people getting black-bagged in the street, disappeared for the crime of speaking the truth. And that is precisely the reason why you demonstrating here matters. must never allow these fascists to take away our voice, even if people don't recognize, even if people don't understand that one day they might be the ones who get black-bagged and sent to a slave labor colony in El Salvador without due process. We will fight for them too. Because every single person here understands the fundamental truth. None of us are free until all of us are free. So I want to end with that and say, free Mahmoud, free Humaira, free all of the political prisoners. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Your voices will not be silenced. Thank you.
Anyway, that was a good speech. So I'm going to call it there. Just a note. When you're at a protest, and I was at the protest yesterday, and there was one guy there with a Palestinian flag, and I walked up to him and I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And we like got talking. And I'm like, "Have you been to any other protests?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've been to a few." Don't make the joke. "Oh, so I'm basically asking you, how anti-Semitic are you?" Which is what I fucking said to the guy, and he looked at me and he was like, "What the fuck is this guy saying?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just joking, because people say that if you protest Israel, you're anti-Semitic." He's like, "Oh, okay, good." So that's a note that I learned the hard way. Don't make jokes like that when you're at protests. But anyway, guys, thanks for everyone showing up. Choki, I'm gonna have to check out that podcast you were promoting, Galactic News Network. Yeah, guys, check that out. And thank you so much, Anthony, for showing up. And we definitely have to get this. We definitely have to get this collaboration down. But I just had to get this done today, looking through the lawsuit that Ethan Klein is potentially going to hit Noah Samsen with, and I think it's going to be so funny. So anyway, guys, that's all for me for tonight, and I'll be back later. Peace.